You are muted, Councilman Kaplan.
I'm aware.
Yeah, give us 1 second. We're just setting up the live stream, setting up TNET TV. Some audio issues. Just give us 1 minute, please.
The microphone. Is this a webinar, Doug, or are we doing a regular?
Oh, no, it's a webinar. All of our council meetings are webinars.
Oh, okay. So let me in immediately. Oh, I was in before. Maybe that's why. Okay.
Give me 1 second here. No, it's a webinar. All of our council. All right, Ron's just setting up upstairs. Get this recording, make sure everyone's in here. Oh, there's Councilwoman Organ. Let me do just an informal roll call real quick, make sure I got everybody here. Councilwoman Rami Rice?
Here.
Councilman Bagan?
Here.
Councilwoman Organ?
Here.
Councilman Kaplan?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz? That's who we're missing. Mayor, how are you?
Good.
Okay. Did he get lost on the way here, I'm wondering? Let me just scroll through. We have a few attendees here this evening. Council, you'll see that I brought on Dr. Hoffman also because he has this presentation that he's doing. I'm just getting that set. Did anyone hear from Deputy Mayor Katz or? No?
No.
Okay. All right, Mayor, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So rise to Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Official roll call. Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Here.
Councilman Bagan.
Here.
Councilman Kaplan.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Here. There he is.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
You forgot me.
Oh, Councilwoman Organ, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm here.
I got you also, Councilman Kaplan, right?
Yes.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by resolution number 203-2019, setting a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2020 by way of resolution number 218-2019, filing a copy in the township clerk's office and posting it on the municipal building bulletin board, and the mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Doug. Just a couple of announcements. First off, tonight at our meeting, we have Dean Kaczynski. Where's Dean? Oh, there he is. Okay. Kaczynski, our township manager. Doug Lucione, our acting township clerk. Clarence Barnes is back at the Starship, still making it nice and clean for when we get back there. Ron Goodman, our volunteer cablecaster, who we all owe a great debt to. And John Shadanian from the law firm of Matusker and Selmy, Rosen, and Carvelli. So, upcoming. The next televised council meeting will take place on Tuesday, January 5, 2021 at 7 p.m. However, pending the adoption of Resolution 267-2020 tonight, our next televised council meeting will take place on Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020 at 7 p.m. in order to deal with the matter contained in 276-2020. Please be reminded that attendance to the municipal building is by appointment only until further notice. Again, a reminder that Teaneck Local J11's book, Images of America Teaneck, is still on sale at the Township Clerk's office. Municipal offices will be closed, excuse me, on December 25th in observance of Christmas and January 1st for New Year's Day. And I'd also like to let everybody know tomorrow night at 6 p.m., though we have to stay socially distant, we will have the tree lighting at township offices on the municipal green. And then Sunday at 5 p.m., we will also have a menorah lighting, again on the township green. And this is a time where I want to remind everybody to check on your neighbors, especially those that live alone. Do something special for them during this holiday season. They're a very important part of our community, and we need to make sure that they're okay. So please check in with them where you can. The council met in closed session to discuss the following: public safety, DPW task force, contract negotiations, personnel, legal issues and/or opinions on any item on the open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. So now we'll move to presentations. Doug, I'm not sure how you want to tee these up in order. You want... Do
you want to, sorry about that, Mayor, I was muted. Do you want to just go in order? We'll save Dr. Hoffman for last.
That's fine. That's fine. So new Board of Education members.
I believe Councilman Kaplan.
Councilman Kaplan put that on.
Are they here, Doug, to come on?
Let me
I believe they are.
Through. I see Mr. Harold Clark. Then we had, Danielle G. Thank you for raising your hand. That was helpful. And then it was a Mr. Damon Cooper also, and I'm just not seeing him on here. I apologize. Unless he has a different name.
Okay. And I'm not sure if Dr. Irving came also. But, I noticed a while back that council used to have a very open relationship and meet with Board of Ed members, and school boards in the best of times are stewards of education policy for all of our children. And these are certainly extraordinary times. So, to those elected officials that choose a calling to serve, I think it's important that we as a community recognize that. And I asked my colleagues, and they each signed on to a certificate that reads, the Teaneck Township Council extends heartfelt congratulations to Harold Clark, Damon Cooper, and Danielle G. on their recent election to the Teaneck School Board. And school representatives, as residents of our community, are an essential voice in the education and governance of our children. And we know the time and effort that goes into public service. And we wanted to thank you for sacrificing your professional, personal, and family time for the noble effort. And just to say, as a group, we look forward to working collaboratively with all of you in the future. And, people don't always see it, but we've worked with the outgoing administration. We wish Dr. Walzer and Clara Williams and Howard Rose luck. And you have a lot of shoes to fill, decades of experience on the way out. And we're hopeful for very collaborative efforts on the way in. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, but I wanted to hand each of you your certificate virtually in COVID land.
We'd love to hear from you if you could unmute yourself. There you go.
Sure, I can go first. Thank you so much, Councilman Kaplan. Totally appreciate this certificate. I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure Harold and Damon share these sentiments. We are so incredibly excited to serve our community. Our North Star is our students. And so everything we do is for them. And, we can't wait to roll up our sleeves and get started in the new year. We also want to say, thank you to Dr. Walzer, Clara Williams, and Howard Rose as well for their years of service. It is a very difficult and highly scrutinized role, but we all do it for the students. So thank you again for this certificate.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Also, I agree with Danielle. I have to thank the council for supporting us in this task that we have in front of us. It's only a high hill to climb, but we all bring something different to the table, and I think we can better our community and help our students to venture what they want to do going forward in their life. And I think we all work together between the council and the Board of Ed, we can really make this town much more successful than it already is. thank you very much. I appreciate all your support.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Kaplan, for bringing them here tonight. The number one thing we need to do in times like this is to work together, and not only for the kids, but for the township. And some of you may know that I guess it was over a year ago now, we redid a subcommittee between the Board of Ed and the council that I proposed, and we had 1 or 2 meetings, and I think there were some very fruitful things. And on our agenda tonight, we're kind of going to reconstitute that again. So I look very, very forward to working with all of you, to doing some things, finding economies of scale, and just getting on the right track so we're all putting the oar in the water the same way and moving this township forward. So congratulations on your election. Enjoy your time between now and January 1st to the utmost, okay? Get some
sleep.
Get some sleep. And we look forward to working with you. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Clark and Miss G, but I now need to change you back to an attendee. Great hearing from you too. Always, Mr. Clark. All right, Mayor, the floor is yours once again.
Okay, proclamation supporting the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2020 year-end holiday crackdown.
I listed this, Mayor. It's something that council does every year around the holiday time, suggested by our police department, just to remind our residents the importance of, driving sober.
Okay, very good.
It's in the packet for anyone who would like to take a read, either council or members of the public.
Okay. All right, next under presentations, most PPRAB, Dr. Ken Hoffman. I think he has some slides, Doug.
Yes, Dr. Hoffman.
Hello, Doug. So you will control the slides and welcome everybody. We all ready to start?
Yes, let me share the screen here. Give me 1 second.
Okay. So thank you to Mayor Dunleavy and Council for allowing me to present the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund Advisory Board recommendations as requested. And in January 5th, as I'm chair also of the Parks, Playground, Recreation Advisory Board, we will make our recommendations to Council at that time. Doug, the next slide, please. The members of the most advisory board are listed here. What I want to bring to everyone's attention is that this is a board that is working very hard. Everyone has shown up for our meetings and everyone has participated fully, both during the time of our meetings as well as between meetings and sending information to members and to me in order for us to have this presentation. Next, thank you. Based on the reconfiguration of Resolution 15-2020, we have Ms. Glenna Crockett, our Superintendent of Recreation, and Lisa Sulik, the Assistant Superintendent, also joins us, and Mayor Jim Dunleavy is our liaison. They have also greatly participated in our discussions, and you will see the results of that in the next few minutes. Next slide, please, Doug. Just to remind everyone, the last time that I made a presentation to the council was 3 years ago, in fact. And when one looks at what we recommended at the time, we can see that things do move slowly, but like a glacier, they are moving forward. They're not moving backwards. The important thing to bring to attention is that the Historical Commission over the next year will be dealing with historical and park markers, park signs and brochures, and are also working on a web-based map of Teaneck, which will describe the name or explain the names of the various streets in Teaneck so people can go on and learn about why the street of which they are visiting or live on is named the way it is. As I'm sure will be discussed tonight, the PAL building is finally going to be destroyed, and in the spring we will have new plantings. This has been long awaited, and we very much look forward to that. Finally, I would like to bring to attention that the funds 3 years ago that were available was $1.6 million, and we will talk about that shortly. And clearly there were problems, particularly 3 years ago, in a two-way communication between members of council and all of the advisory boards that serve our township. Next, please. Currently, as of September 24th, we have $1.2 million more than we had 3 years ago. But there are some amounts that we believe should be used, so it will go down a little bit. First and foremost, as has been discussed by Dr. George Raskakis in our committee, as well as discussed, I'm sure, among the council members, $15,000 to purchase the storage shed with the water collecting roof for the Mary Topolsky Park. It's important for the Greenway members. It's the only ADA accessible park along the Hackensack River. And until this storage shed is available, they are carrying their supplies in the water from River Road, where there's very little parking, down to the river site to take care of the park. Secondly, we did note that the Mary Topolsky Park is not part of the recreation open space inventory and has no New Jersey DEP Green Acres protection. This is an administrative change that we believe should be made part of Terhune Park and should be done as soon as possible. And hopefully Township Attorney Shadanian can help us in getting that done. Next slide, please. Hello, Doug. Next slide, please.
Doug?
Thank you. Along with that, Ms. Crockett surprised us by stating that the Bergen County Open Space Program had granted TNEC $119,000 towards a bland shell replacement. This is a matching grant. So $119,000 of the remaining funds must come out of most, and the council and Township Manager Kaczynski will figure out what to do, how to get the rest of the money, but $119,000 must be matched. We also felt that given the field house and given the increased use of OT Park, that outdoor benches, particularly like chess and checkers, think of it as like Washington Park in New York City by NYU, can be placed on the south side of OT so people can watch the sporting complex, enjoy sitting or just playing board games in the park. And we thought this would be something particularly for the seniors, as well as for families to enjoy the ambience of OT. Next, please. The biggest discussion that we've had is the issue of open space purchasing in TNEC. It has been certainly something that has been discussed by multiple individuals. The Haluba factory has been discussed for years. It is now currently owned by a private corporation. What we did notice is that the property next to Herrick Park, which has two Sotheby signs, their plans that were presented before the planning board showed that the access road that is going to go from Palisade Avenue to the new development goes right down the middle of this area. And what we have suggested to the council to discuss and I guess make a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Schwartz, for educating me on this, in discussions with the developer to move that entranceway as far south as possible and see if we can either have that land donated or sold to us to improve Herrick Park, along with what the PPRAB will present to council in January on some of our suggestions for improving that area. We also believe that because this is buying open space and improving parkland, that most trust funds should be used for this purpose. Next, please. Thanks for your help, Doug. While we all recognize that the Voti in-ground pool and the above-ground Hawthorne pool need to be replaced, and money is tight in every year, but particularly in this year, we wanted to recommend that while there may be a down payment that would come out of Municipal Open Space Trust Fund, we truly and sincerely and unanimously recommend that the entire cost not be funded through this trust fund so that unused funds can be saved for future needs, particularly if property becomes available that will help us in expanding our parkland and open space. Next, please, Doug. With the non-financial recommendations, the first and foremost is we join the chorus of concerns that the planning board has not yet put the open space recreation plan into the township's master plan. And as a advisory board, we recognize that council has little oomph in doing more about it, but we wanted to again bring to everyone's attention how much we want this to be done as both individual members as well as an advisory board to council. Secondly, we wish, as a advisory board and myself, as working with Dr. Wiskakis for over a decade and a half, his years of dedication as a volunteer in Teaneck and Bergen County, he will be greatly missed, and we all wish him well in his downsizing and moving to Waldwick. Finally, we would love to thank everybody in the administration and council, particularly Mayor Dunleavy, Doug, and Dean, with the improved two-way communication between the advisory boards, the chairs, the council, the township administration. We're no longer working in the dark. There is a cooperative interaction between these groups, and we will be looking forward to continuing that and improving upon it to make Teaneck the best place that it could ever be. Finally, we understand that the skating rink was destroyed when the field house was built. And we did recommend to PPRAB to start looking for a location for a new outdoor skating rink that may be multi-seasonal, and that will be coming up in January. Next, please. Finally, I want to thank everyone for allowing me to make this presentation. As a physician and a healthcare provider and epidemiologist, the biggest thing I could say is happy holidays, happy New Year, and wear a good face mask when social distancing is not possible, because until the vaccines come out, this is what we're going to need to do. I'm here to take questions. For those who have them, we certainly can contact me through the township email. People who are listening and have questions, feel free, and I will certainly answer you as best as I can. Thank you very much.
Does anybody on council have a question of Dr. Hoffman?
I do have a correction statement or whatever you want to call it. First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Hoffman. Excellent presentation. I especially look forward to the January PPRAB presentation. I know I've been on top of you to get that going. I look forward to that. Regrettably, I wish in the last 13 years since the original Haluba plan was denied that we had heard about this desire sooner, because Haluba has already been approved by the planning board, the plan's already been drawn up. That site with the facility signs actually Bogota, not to say we can't buy it, but unfortunately they've already purchased the land, designed the space, approved the land, and most importantly got Bogota's blessing on the plans. And that was something that we weren't sure. The planning board wasn't sure that Bogota would be freely giving. In the past, there were objections to many of the other plans on the site. So I look forward to our other PPRB expenditures. And the one thing I'd like to say is, personally, I'd like to see another skating rink, but I'd like to see if we can put it in another park. Voti is very heavily used, and I'd love to see it spread out to do additional recreation matters in other parks. But I look forward to hearing about that and talking about that in January. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah, Councilman Pagan.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffman, for this presentation. Can you please elaborate a little on how you want to make Mary Topolsky Park a part of Terhune Park?
This information came from Superintendent Crockett, that it is part of Teaneck land and is not part of the parkland. So there is no Green Acres protection. So this park could actually disappear and be used for development. So we need to get it protected. And that's where it comes from. It is as we said, it's the only ADA pathway to the river. It's where the Lucan bench from a couple months ago is placed, and there are other benches there. So really this is administrative protection, so that park will remain for use for the citizens for the next 100 years. So Michael, when you're a great grandfather, you can take your great grandchildren down there and not have to worry that you're going to have to walk through a parking lot.
Got it. Thanks, Doc.
I think Township Attorney Shadanian, I think John has probably more information about this, and Dean, than I do. But clearly, when it was brought to our attention, we almost we knew that this would be really the #1 recommendation. It also costs us very little. I mean, most fund-wise, nothing. And Township probably has to file a bunch of stuff, but that's why we put it there.
Anyone else? Karen?
Dr. Hoffman, more wearing the hat of the PPRAB. I love the idea of the chess and checkers tables. I do have recommendations from the Senior Citizen Advisory Board trickling in that I'll forward to the mayor. But seating areas like that, benches that face each other instead of facing into the park where now that we're all moving outdoors, and especially in the spring, if we could add those to our parks so that people can meet and speak, but socially distant. The idea of the skating rink is intriguing. This past Saturday, I walked with Councilwoman Romney Rice and Deputy Mayor Schwartz, and we walked through a few of the parks, and we were thinking how great it would be if, as you give us your report, the PPRAB report of the updates you recommend to the parks, maybe we could do a walking tour. Maybe we could see what you want to put where, and would give us a really good idea how to visualize it.
Happy to do it.
Great.
We'll take separate cars though.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. I just want to add one quick thing in here. I should have put it on the agenda. I too wanted to add my words of gratitude to Dr. George Raskakis. Doug, is he logged in?
Scrolling through, give me 1 second.
So I'm going to say thank you very much and mute myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Always
Thank
a
you
pleasure,
all.
Dr. Hoffman.
Thank you. And Doug, you can put if council approves, you can put the PowerPoint presentation under the most advisory board so people can look at it.
You got it. Cool. I'll put it up on the website. And for members of the public, it is included in the agenda packet for this evening. Mayor, I apologize. I don't think George is on right now unless he has a different name. And if George, if you're on, raise your hand for me if you have a different name so we could bring you on real quick.
I think that's what he goes by. I too wanted to say thanks for all his years of service in all the environmental areas that he was worked on, and all of the service that he has given to PPRAB and to most. I've always found him to be a straightforward, insightful person who only had Teaneck and its best interest at heart. So we're losing a fabulous volunteer and resident. He's not moving too far away. I'm sure if we do something wrong, I'll probably hear from him. But thank you, George, from the bottom of our hearts for the service that you've given this community. You've done yeoman work. We appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering if we could provide a proclamation or something to Mr. Takis, being that he's not here with us. Perhaps he could actually attend a meeting so we can convey our thoughtfulness and great gratitude.
A certificate to him?
We did.
Yeah, we already signed off on it, yes.
Okay, very good. Well, hopefully we will be able to convey our gratitude in person by inviting him to attend a meeting.
Will do. Okay, work session items. Miscellaneous, old business, new business, communications, Teaneck Strong Day, December 21st. Anybody, I don't know who put that on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, this is by Deputy Mayor Schwartz and I have been in correspondence with Davis, Saperstein, and Solomon. And as you see, our township manager is wearing a Teaneck Strong mask, which Davis, Saperstein, and Solomon are providing to a couple thousand people, as well as T-shirts. And they're encouraging people to wear them on the first day of winter, which I believe is December 21st. And I think they're looking towards us for a resolution and just to mention it so that, we can bring a little more joy into this beautiful town during a very challenging time.
Yeah, we thank Davis Saperstein for doing this. It was something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I also see Councilmember Rice wearing the mask.
Yep, there you go.
I didn't come prepared to class. I left it on my other desk.
In the car.
Mayor, I'm securing T-shirts, the Teaneck Strong T-shirts. I'm looking to get a quantity from Davis, Saperstein, Solomon. I'm going to distribute them to the workforce, and on December 21st, allow the workforce to proudly wear the T-shirts.
Great. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say I think that I really want to applaud Saperstein for this initiative. I think anything that could actually bring our community together. I actually reached out to them and gave a number of various community organizations, block associations that could help participate in this. And then hopefully we could support an initiative to do a hashtag TeenX Strong, encourage people to take photos and forward them to kind of create some type of synergy, which also was one of my agenda items about encouraging our mask wearing, but also to bring unity and demonstrate that on the 21st. So perhaps we could make that arrangement to put it on our Facebook page, our Instagram, to really promote this as a real piece of unity in the community.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Okay. Letter from Senator Cory Booker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to share that and read a letter that was received and forwarded to us from Senator Cory Booker's office to O'Dane and Kasai. And it says that they recently learned about their astonishing efforts to create the very first Black Lives Matter street mural in the city of Teaneck. And he wanted to acknowledge this amazing endeavor and to celebrate the two of them for spearheading this project and for spreading awareness in their community despite major pushback. More importantly, he wanted to thank them for raising their voices. We cannot continue to live in a nation where hundreds of thousands of parents every year have to teach their children how not to get killed or assaulted by the police. We must live in a nation where Black lives matter. It is truly inspiring to see young people such as yourselves getting involved in this urgent civil rights issue that has been staining our society for centuries. While no single person or single law can fix racism in this country, your actions have contributed greatly towards this movement for justice and equity. I promise that I will not be silent in fighting for needed reforms and hope your voices will continue to be heard alongside mine. Again, congratulations. I am honored to represent you in the United States Senate, and I look forward to your continued success in advocating for social change. The world needs more upstanders like you. Signed, Senator Cory Booker, our United States Senator from New Jersey. So just wanted to make sure that was read into the record, and also to thank O'Dane and Kasai and the members of the Black Lives Mural Committee for their work.
Thank you, Councilmember Rice. I have one communication that actually just happened today, and that was I'm on a monthly call with mayors from Bergen County with the governor's office, and pretty much all of our questions obviously are pertaining to the vaccine and distribution, vaccine and timing. And I feel it's important to send the message that yes, the vaccine is coming, but everyone is not going to be vaccinated on January 2nd. It's going to take a long time. The state is looking at hopefully, possibly a goal of 70% of the state being vaccinated by July. Okay, July, and that's 70%. And that 70% obviously doesn't take into consideration people who have opted not to take the vaccine. So the numbers may be closer to 50. So in terms of having to wear masks, stay socially distant, those things are going to apply in our lives for quite some time. The state does not have specifics to tell us yet on how they're going to distribute or when they're actually going to have it. They're hopeful they'll have it by the end of the month, but how much and where they're going to distribute is still up in the air, and how they're going to do it. So stay tuned. We don't know. They told us maybe in a week to 10 days, we may know the specifics of how this is going to be handled. But again, we're going to have patience, and we're going to be in our masks. So please, please, please continue to wear your masks, stay socially distant, follow all the rules and the CDC guidelines. Okay. Committee reports by council liaisons. Historic Preservation Commission.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I guess I'm looking for guidance. Historical Preservation has quite a bit of projects going on, and I don't know how the funding works. Now, I know I saw it under the most report talking about the funding, so I'm looking to see who can give me guidance. For example, right now there are some historical markers that need to be replaced at a cost of $4,400. We're looking to create a tourist map that is expensive, 25 to 30 grand. That's all just in the planning stages, whereas the markers at $4,400 are ready to go. And we're looking to do a few other other items in the range of about $50,000. So we're looking, the historical preservation is looking for about $190,000. Again, not all at once. What is the methodology for getting this money? And maybe it is most. And I saw some of that in the presentation. So I'm looking for input.
Well, Mark, we can do it a couple of ways. They can make a formal request, because this is almost money. It's not budgeted money. It's in a most account. First, it has to be determined whether or not what they want actually fits under the rules. I think certainly the markers do. I don't know about the other ones. We'd have to check that.
Okay.
But then they can make the formal request through you, and then we can move it on and get those things started.
Okay, I had the request. I will forward it to our CCDA most committee as well. Send it to you and Dr. Hoffman.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm sending the email now, and we can always talk about it as well. Okay, that's my report. Planning board committee report. Haluba was approved for the townhouse in affordable housing development. Cedar Lane Halloween was regrettably the Halloween party was canceled, unfortunately. And those are my reports. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, two things. You said cats, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw Keith's hand, and then I heard your voice.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Why don't we go with Keith, and then you can go. Okay. Go ahead, Keith.
The library met. Story Walk was unveiled with a ribbon cutting that took place in Sagamore Park. The public is encouraged to attend and take a look. The construction grants that the state awarded, we did not get picked for the first round. The library is hopeful for the second round that Tina can be awarded some funds. And the reorganization meeting will be held on January 7th.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Katz?
Yeah, I had a question for Deputy Mayor Schwartz about the markers. Before they get printed, can we please see a copy of what they're going to look like?
So is that a formal request from the plaque committee?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Noted. I will CC the plaque committee on my email as well right now.
Okay. And number two is I just want to the zoning subcommittee met last week with Holy Name Hospital. Just looking at some of their proposals and their needs. In addition, we discussed, trying to see if my notes are here. But in addition, we discussed the tents and the new state rules regarding the tents and the snow. And Deputy Mayor Schwartz, what were some of the other topics, do you remember?
Sorry, drive-through.
Got it. Yes. And also some of the property that you guys looked at on Saturday as well. We talked about that as well.
Yes, I'll be presenting that under council listed items. All
right. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. I have one report. I had promised the advisory board chairs that I would meet with them 2-3 months after the start of the new ordinance to see how things were going. We had a Zoom call this past week, and it went very, very well. Everybody is settled in and fine and working. But what we found with this meeting was that there are a lot of advisory boards that have resources that other advisory boards can use. And so we got this cross-pollination of ideas going to the point where they want to have this meeting of just the advisory board chairs to discuss what they're doing on a quarterly basis. So we're going to set those up and hopefully they'll be as productive in terms of information and information sharing as this one was this past week. Okay, council listed items. Honorary street renaming.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was on mute. I was trying to also give my advisory board.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. Hackensack River Greenway Advisory Board just wanted to extend their gratitude to Dean Marie for doing that walking tour, and very pleased about the remediation work that's taking place at Indian Pond. Also looking forward to that $15,000 that was mentioned in the most presentation for the rain barrel shed project, because they have been doing a yeoman's job of just carrying water, and that would be an excellent project, and also a learning opportunity to collaborate with schools they discussed. Youth Advisory Board, they're working on another civics event for the youth, and asked if anyone would be interested in assisting, participating, offering prizes, gifts, would like for them to contact them. I'm going to give an advisement to Mr. Kaplan, who enjoyed that, and I think that he wanted to be the chief participant in that, but hopefully it'll be more designed for the youth. Also, the Dream Catchers initiative they're working on to connect students with local businesses, entrepreneurs, and careers that students are interested in. So also looking for community members that could assist them, and anyone could reach out to me to make connections. Community Relations Advisory Board, they met twice in November, and they are working on their plans for 2021. Those include homelessness awareness, a speaker series on inclusion and diversity, enhancement of the Teaneck brand, incentives for new businesses to welcome new residents, their new residents welcome event, as well as the Matthew Feldman Award. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I'll do the Senior Citizen Advisory Board.
Go ahead.
Met. They are very much looking for ways to communicate information to seniors that are not computer savvy, and Dean is working with our public access channels and our MIS to hopefully start advertising, showing classes on channels 47 and 77. The seniors very much look forward to replacing the band shell when we get to it, and they're looking to hold concerts Sunday afternoons, hopefully in conjunction with Friends of the Library. And I learned today possibly the Puffin Foundation, maybe we can all work together on that. And the rec center will be having some sort of, they're getting equipment now. Dean and Glenna are working on equipment to hold more classes virtually for the seniors now.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? No, okay. Let's move on. Council listed items. Honorary street renaming, Paul Ostro Boulevard, Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yeah, so listen, I want to applaud Deputy Mayor Schwartz for his honorary street renamings and him being the self-appointed chairman of that committee. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he did a fantastic job also during a time when Teaneck residents, Teaneck merchants really needed a little sunshine and happiness. And this is just joy, joy, joy. I want to maybe say that we should put a pause to it, although I spoke to Deputy Mayor Schwartz about it, and he wants to as well. But he has one more last one, because I don't want to take away from any of the ones we've done in the last few months. I want to let's give it a break, a breather. But before we do, from my side, I would like to suggest that we rename the portion of Garrison by Grayson, by where Mayor Paul Ostro lives. Paul has been a fixture, for lack of better words, here in Teaneck, for many, many years, 3 times mayor, council member for many, many years, life member of the Ambulance Corps, past president of the Ambulance Corps, community affairs for Holy Name, and the list goes on and on and on and on. When we talk about multi-generational, maybe right now he's in a different part of his life, with his kids and family, but back then he was the go-to person when he was active, and he was out there for every resident of town. And to me, he really, I looked at him as a role model of how a community representative should really be. So I would like to request that we name the Paul Ostro Boulevard for the 90 days that we do.
And what did you have a corner specifically, Deputy Mayor, that you were recommending, or was it the entirety of Grayson?
No, I think we did the sections that he lives on, but I would say the one by
Green, Prince, and Red.
Red. I was gonna say, yeah, one of those corners.
Yeah, Prince and red would be good.
That to the chairman of the committee. I don't want to, you know.
Discussion?
So very in favor.
Councilwoman Rice?
Yeah, I would concur with Karen. Definitely think that it's so well deserving, and I think that we've been on a roll with this. So definitely add my applaud to that. Although Ellie kind of took Mark's thunder because he has been on a roll, but we'll let Ellie share in this one. But I do just want to mention that we did receive another request, and I just wanted to make sure that we could perhaps find a way how we're going to, you know, if we are going to put a pause, how we address the fact that we do have some other requests for street namings. So I just wanted to make mention of that.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I spoke to Jerron, you and I, Councilwoman Rice, you and I spoke about that. I spoke to Deputy Mayor Katz, and he understood that there's at least one more request pending before this hiatus. So we're going to hopefully address that at the next meeting, or right after we said talk about one individual at a time. So we'll make sure we get that last one in. And I have none other pending right this second after that. So by all means, we'll address that in an upcoming meeting or two, depending how this fits in. So by all means, that was acknowledged, and of course, well deserved. But we'll discuss that at our own meeting.
Sounds great.
Okay, so we're in agreement to move forward with this. And just some nodding heads. Okay.
Yep.
So Deputy Mayor Katz,
All right, good.
if it's okay with you, now we will have a resolution to formalize this at our following January meeting. I will be in touch with you offline about some of the details and specifics about it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. Item 2, one TNEC initiative between council and BOE. Deputy Mayor Schwartz and Councilwoman Organ.
Okay, Councilwoman Organ, did you want to take that, or do you want me to take that?
Go for it.
Yeah, I've never been a quiet one. Okay. Frankly speaking, and I think the mayor touched on this, it's been way too long that we've had this lack, let's say it nicely, the lack of smooth communication between the Board of Ed and the Township of Teaneck. And frankly, that needs to stop. There was too much animosity, and the residents suffer. And, it should never be a case where a council member says, sorry, not us, that's the other board. And the Board of Adjustment says, sorry, that's not us, that's the council. We're here as a tax-paying residents. We're here to serve them as one Teaneck. Specifically, we had the opportunity, Councilwoman Organ and myself, had the opportunity to meet with members of the Finance Committee at the Board of Ed, Linda DiCarlo Burns and Victoria Fisher. And we've reached out to the mayor and our town manager to set up a meeting with the superintendent and the Anthony DeAngelis, the facilities manager. I'm sorry, I forget his name. This is his title. So we can start looking to see what we can do together, even more so with the shared services we have. Shared services are small words that we need to make big with big action. We need to do our fields. There's no reason why our high school teams aren't using our fields more, and no reason why we as residents aren't using Board of Ed fields more. So I know, Mr. Manager, you took that the next step, but I just wanted to announce and get council support for that initiative, if you all agree with me.
Anybody disagree? Councilmember Romney Rice. Go ahead.
No disagreement, but happy to hear that we're going to try to renew that dialogue. I think for many years that we were trying to have that work, and Dean well knows back in the days with working with William and shared services, a number of various agreements. So I think it's a long time coming. Look forward to that.
And also, just to clarify, it's more than just shared services. It's shared goals and also shared communication. And I take blame for being one of those people as well that would always point fingers and say that's them, that's not us. And I'm really looking for that harmony so everyone can benefit. So there's a much bigger picture, which I take blame for being a party to, embarrassingly so.
Yeah, we had talked when we had the meetings, I guess over a year ago. We talked about sharing or getting involved with solar between the two boards. We talked about use of fields. We talked about permitting of the fields through one system so that people didn't get screwed up. Just what you said, having the schools be able to use our fields and the township be able to use their fields more through that common permitting system. So, and I left those meetings feeling that all of those things were on the table and able to be discussed and acted and worked on. So I'm very, very happy that we're going to move forward with this. I was going to bring it up at our January meeting to reinstitute this, but I'm glad that you're starting it. Okay, anybody other comments on that? Okay, moving forward, pedestrian bridge letter, Councilman Pagan.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know, the pedestrian bridge from Benjamin Franklin Middle School to Votey Park is deteriorating and not in compliance with ADA standards. The bridge needs to be fixed and or replaced eventually. Now, a project like this will be comprehensive and will take years to complete, usually between 5 to 10 years. But I'd like to get the conversation started with our federal legislators and with CSX. The two letters in our agenda packet are pretty self-explanatory. One is asking United States Senator Bob Menendez and Congressman Josh Gottheimer to help us identify federal funds to help repair the bridge, because there are federal funding opportunities available for projects just like this. And because CSX is engaged in a statewide capital improvement program, in the second letter, we are asking CSX to help us begin looking at the engineering and design process, since the pedestrian bridge does cross their rail line and it would make sense for them to help make this project happen. So I am asking tonight for other council members to please join me in this effort to improve access between Votey Park and BF by signing on to these two letters, or by agreeing that we can send these two letters as a body of the whole. So what do you guys think? Will you join me in signing the letters? What are your thoughts?
I'm in agreement with 100%.
110%.
Yeah, 110%. I think
120%.
I don't think there's any other way we're going to be able to fund it without these.
Yeah, and I like Councilman Pagan's approach. You know, he understands the reality of the bureaucracy. It's going to take a long time. He understands it's going to take a lot of money, and he's reaching out to the stakeholders, which I think is really good.
Okay, so yes, Councilwoman Organ.
I love it. I just had a quick question for Dean. Yeah. I love the idea, Mike. I think it's great. And just for Dean, did CSX ever fix the end of Palisade Avenue where it turns into a lake when it floods by Maya Note?
Not a permanent fix, Councilwoman Organ. They generally go there with the piece of equipment to dig out the blockage by the drain. So no, it's not a permanent fix. You know, we've encountered this problem whenever we receive heavy prolonged rain and it floods that entire parking lot at the end of Palisade Avenue by the school. So no, it's not a permanent fix yet.
So maybe when we're in communication with them, we could slip that in also and see if they'll take care of that.
Yeah, I've reached out, and I know Dean has reached out several times to CSX and through Congressman Gottheimer's office to deal not only with this, but for them to clean up the swell that's on the side of the tracks in order to maximize drainage coming out of Votey Park. They have not been very responsive, to say the least. But I'm hopeful that maybe we can start the process here with this bridge. Anyone else? Okay, good. Unpaved road assessments, Councilman Kaplan.
Yes, so we still have a couple of roads in town that are unpaved. Historically, the reason is mostly because the people that lived there at the time chose not to pave their streets. At the time, the people who lived in the homes on the street would be assessed for the cost of paving the streets. It seems like a crazy system, but they charged the people who lived on the road. So the value of your home has a capital improvement cost in the value of your home of the street in front of your house. We get requests periodically. I got one from Home Street a couple of weeks ago, and I brought it up with the manager, and the issue is what to do with it. A lot of these roads are not just merely paving. You need to do engineering, you need to do sewer work, you need to do various things that they would have done when they did the street originally. To do it the way they used to do it, to assess the homeowners, would be the most equitable. It's the way everybody else was treated. To have the town just absorb the cost and do whatever streets are left is another option. But I just wanted to raise the issue for council. If anybody has thoughts on it, I don't want to, ping you right here without having thought about it, but I wanted to raise the issue. So when these come up, we can come at it in a cohesive way instead of just dealing one street at a time.
Any questions, comments?
Is there a number attached to the number of streets, Keith?
I've gotten 3 of these requests so far. I don't know what the total number of streets is. The manager might have that info.
Javon, I think it's about 5 or 6 streets. I've already consulted with the engineer. They're going to cost this out. There may be some gravel roads that we can resurface without having to do drainage, but I'll have a better idea in the upcoming weeks as to the approximate cost, which streets need drainage and which streets we can just resurface without having to do the sewer and drainage.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right, Keith, you're up again. Redistricting of Teaneck election districts to ensure fair and equitable distribution of registered votes and voters.
Yeah, so when we just had the election, and if you take a look in the packet, I included 3 charts. I mean, obviously the numbers are always changing. The number of registered voters is always in flux. But if you take a look at Hackensack, Fair Lawn, and Teaneck, this is on page 25 of the packet, or at least it was when I got mine. Teaneck has 1,258 voters per district, whereas Hackensack has 896 and Fair Lawn has 1,029. The issue being that ours are not as equitable. And when it comes to county committee and various things, we're getting shortchanged. So even throughout town, some of them are way off, and we haven't revised this in decades. So what I would like is, if the council's amenable to it, to create a task force to look at the best way to create fair and equitable districts for Teaneck, and then come back with recommendations.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. When you make reference to fair and equitable, can you elaborate a little bit on terms of what that?
Sure. We have one district. If you take a look at the district with the most registered voters, which is District 12, and the district with the fewest registered voters, which was District 16, the numbers are almost 3 times what the other one is. So when you're talking about a line on election day, hopefully one day we'll be back to having lines, it would be 3 times as much in one as the other. When all of the districts have roughly the same number of voters, the number of ballots, the number of machines, the number of working volunteers, all those things becomes equal across the board. And then that's within town. Obviously, it won't have any impact on our elections because that's just everybody in town voting. And then when the Republicans and Democrats go to either the TDMC or the TRMC or the county committees, the number of delegates you send there is going to be based in part on how many election districts you have or precincts you have within town. And if we have more of those, we have more of a say. One person, when I brought this up, said that they thought that the fact that the county group that decides this is made up of an even number of Republicans and Democrats, and because we're nonpartisan, they thought that might be the reason we have fewer spots on these committees compared to other towns. If you go to Hackensack, the same number of voters have far more sway and power in these committees than Teaneck has.
Just curious to the pros and cons.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I can tell, there's no cons for us doing this.
Further comment? All right, so Councilman Kaplan is asking for a subcommittee to put together the data on this and the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Who is interested in serving? I
Me.
see Councilmember Pagan's name.
I believe Councilwoman Romney Rice's interest.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, okay, so Councilmember Rice, Councilmember Pagan, Councilmember Kaplan, go to it. Okay.
And we'll meet with our attorney and find out what we legally can do, and we'll report back to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Community choice aggregation. Councilmember Rice.
Yes, so I'm sure that many of my council colleagues, we've been receiving a number of letters from community members asking about clean energy aggregation. And I think, Keith, that you were working with this group at one point, but basically they're just seeking further engagement where we would allow a win-win for our community to use our collective purchasing power to save money on our electrical bills and bring clean energy to our communities to lessen our reliance on the polluting fossil fuels. And I spoke with Dean about this. I know that he's gone through the process of an energy audit. We are looking at some ways that how we can be more conscientious users of our, to our environment. And I know that Paula Rogovan, I just want to give her a shout out because she is our champion for our environment. And, just looking for support for this clean energy aggregation. Also, I forwarded some additional literature in addition to a possible resolution that we can consider, perhaps take a look at, add, take away, but just wanted to get some council's thoughts on our, to take a look at this opportunity.
Councilmember Kaplan.
So, I'm happy you brought this up. The reason I hadn't advocated for this one way or the other was that I had a lot of open questions. I noticed that the paperwork that you had talked about, what you just mentioned, bringing clean air to New Jersey. But what I had seen was that the system was based on RECs through the Renewable Energy Network. And I was wondering if that is, the framework you were looking for.
Well, actually, I was just speaking with the committee, and I know that it requires certainly much more than just our participation. It requires a lot of other townships, to also join in on this. But the whole thought is that, leaving ownership of the power plants and the grid in the hands of the utilities, but allowing residents in the community to have greater control over the electricity that they purchase from their local utilities. So it's at least to just take a look at what options are, looking at perhaps some cost savings in addition to lessening our dependence on fossil fuels.
Right. But I mean, the questions I had, which, was the reason that I hadn't brought it up yet, was that the towns that, at least in New Jersey and PJM, that have done this have relied on the RECs. So, did you want to just go over what the RECs are and how they work here? Because that was my biggest hang up on this, that are you envisioning a system where the air in New Jersey gets cleaner through this? Because I'm not sure how that happens.
Well, not necessarily. I'm sure that that's not something that happens overnight, but I think that the group is just looking for us to continue to have the conversation. I think that there was mentioned that this was part of the environmental group, and I'm just wondering if we can continue to have this dialogue, whether it's brought through the environmental group, what their thoughts are. I think that we did ask those questions, and to find out, have further discussion on what this actually does mean for all of us.
I'm certainly happy to do that. I'm just worried that, there are obviously benefits, right? For those that, I'm sorry, I probably should have backed, unless you wanted to go for it. The renewable energy certificates, the RECs, are what New Jersey basically has. And, when a energy company in Nevada or Texas or something produces enough renewable energy, they take these, and instead of giving it to somebody right next to them for, whatever the going rate is, they sell those credits to places like New Jersey. And that's how we come up with a certain amount of renewable energy. So that's how, Maplewood did it. The problem, and the pitch is, when you do this, it invests in renewables so that it creates more desire for renewables, and then they become more expensive and people enter the field. And the program's been going since 1999, and I just haven't seen the PJM interchange network add any capacity of REC producing network. So, I'm all for clean air, but like when you've reviewed this and, the ordinance that you put in the packet, is that in any way doing anything other than RECs, which brings, clean air to Texas, or is this purely just to fund the Clean Air Initiative?
And that's when I think it's important to have this conversation, right? To kind of like, I'm not suggesting that we put the resolution forth as is, but at least to entertain the conversation, what does it mean for us? I think we are interested more in what does it mean for us in New Jersey, particularly how does it benefit our residents as we look at the global picture of, renewable energies and clean energy, but how does it benefit us particularly, not, just globally.
Councilmember Rice, I had a question. Did the advisory board talk about what would be an acceptable percentage that comes from renewable energy sources as part of this process?
That I'm not sure. And I just know that this is something that has been in communication with the Environmental Commission. It's also something I believe, Keith, that you've been probably involved in this for longer than I have. I just was attending a meeting and wanted to find out how we could perhaps continue the conversation, move it along, because I believe this is something that they have been discussing for quite some time.
Yes.
And just to make sure that perhaps, as we look towards a new year, that we continue to keep this as an option that we're considering.
So the legislation that New Jersey passed that allows community choice aggregation does have some lofty goals for renewable energy. And as New Jersey edges up on the requirements they have for renewable energy, the RECs, as you can imagine, become more in demand and the price goes up. The problem is it's a double-edged sword. Maplewood, New Jersey, which I mentioned was one of the groups that went into community choice aggregation, found that this month they had to switch back to PSE&G. And the problem is they couldn't get a bidder that's going to beat the PSE&G price, which was one of the requirements of the program. So they went 1 year on community choice aggregation. Now they're off. Then their second round has it. So in 2021, they're likely going back, but their residents are flip-flopping back and forth. And, I'm not necessarily against doing that here in town if, we're doing it eyes wide open that this is something that's going to be investing in renewable energy, even if it's not here. But, I'm hearing from a lot of residents that this is something that will bring clean air to Bergen, and there won't be a renewable energy certificate generated in Bergen, New Jersey, or, 10 states around us. This is something that's, a renewable energy certificate on paper. And I want to make sure that people advocating for this know exactly what we're getting into.
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask, is this something that we could have further conversation perhaps in the Environmental Commission, or would there be another area that we could have this be?
Absolutely. I think it's a good place. I've been asking for a report. To date, I haven't received any official reports from them. I did reach out personally to Maplewood and also Highland Park. I also reached out to the Sierra Club. I spoke with one of their representatives just last week, and they, at least in the New Jersey Sierra Club area, hadn't put too much efforts into community choice aggregation. They were focused more on community solar. Which is also an idea we might want to share around. But I am absolutely in favor of having the Environmental Commission take a look. And if they want to give us an expert report on it, that's something that would be wonderful.
That would be great, because it's still something fairly new in New Jersey. There's only about 53 municipalities currently, and the CCAs don't offer any renewable energy options just yet. But why not be on the cutting edge if there are some discussions? So I would like to at least move in that direction.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts.
Any further discussion? Okay. All right. Okay. Item 7, lecture series on racism. As I've been talking to you guys. I've been putting together something with the FDU faculty. We have identified 4 professors with various backgrounds in criminal justice, social justice issues, racism, white privilege, women's discrimination, I'm just hitting the tops. Okay. We have faculty member from Montclair, a couple from FDU here in Teaneck, and one from their satellite university up in Vancouver, Canada. And I talked to him the other day. What I'm proposing that we do, because we have to coordinate the timing with the library and MLK Day activities, is we're looking at 4 lectures with at least one of them having a workshop, so people can actively participate in it. We thought we would do the first 2 in the last 2 weeks of January, if possible. I know the library is doing a lot of things for Black History Month in February, and then we can come back out and do 2 more with the workshop in March. So that's kind of the framework that we're working on. The speakers are working on their outlines now in terms of what they're going to be talking about, but broadly, those are the areas that they're going to be discussing. So, excuse me, anybody have any comments or whatever? Okay.
Yeah. So Mayor, I just want to say that I'm definitely in favor of this. I think it's really great, but I just want to know how we can, you know, make sure that we're not just preaching to the choir, so to speak. You know, we have a lot of residents and folks who are doing this work. They do it in their day jobs. They do it in the activities and grassroots organizations that we work with in the community. But how do we make sure that we get a good cross section of community, you know, members without, you know, of course we can't mandate this, but I think this is a great opportunity. And additional, and I would like to think that we could lead by example and to ensure that we as leaders would also, you know, commit to making sure that we participate.
Sure. I mean, we can certainly obviously put out the word wide and far. I think it's all in marketing. So I'm going to be talking with Luis about his ideas about how we can market this a certain way to get as many people here. But this is just part of what actually has to occur. And part of it has to do with the Advisory Board on Community Relations. They have to come up with perhaps activities and stuff designed to meet some of the things that we'll be talking about in these presentations, so that we can have activities in town. And obviously it's going to be difficult, as they probably till at least mid-year, but do something to start to break down the barriers, start to have the honest conversations amongst ourselves, and to start to be the town that we know we are. And as I've said, since I took this office in July, I wanted this council and this township to be the catalyst for whatever this town wants to be. And so I think it's our responsibility to give them some education, give them the platforms, encourage them to do the things that hopefully the advisory board and others will bring to us in terms of good activities to get these goals met. And we can move forward. So, I mean, the lectures are kind of like a beginning, and we're going to see what falls out of it. We'll have a workshop, and then we're going to see where we go there after that. So that's kind of how we look at it. I agree with you, Javon. We could have an entire Zoom meeting, and I would hate it to be this way, of all Black faces, because then it doesn't work. It's not going to work if it's all white faces or all Muslim faces. It has to be what Teaneck is. And so I think once I get the information down, I think we have to make sure that we're talking to our communities of interest and tell them just how important it is. It's not just for the other guys. It's not just for those people. It's not just for them. It's for the town. And so I'm going to rely on you to do that, as well as many other venues that I can, to get, as you say, get a good mix of people involved in this process.
As I reported out, community relations, they actually had put it on their agenda. And I mentioned to them that there was forthcoming something, an initiative from you, but they had spoke about it even before mentioning it. So I know that they're more than ready and willing to take part in this.
Good. Okay. All right. Next. Item 8, increasing mask wearing in public and safety measures as COVID-19 numbers increase. Councilmember Rice.
Yeah, so I know we've already mentioned that. Dr. Hoffman was here mentioning it, and Dean continues to give our numbers. I think as of, this is pretty old. I noted this was as of the 3rd, it was 1701. Dean, you could probably give us an update on where we are currently, but as
1761.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, you're the good track of that. So as we mentioned, we have our TNX Strong Mass, and just wanted to make sure that because we have traveled this road before, that we are continuing to be proactive in our approach. Like I said, we've traveled this road before and know what it means to have to kind of quarantine and do all the things that we've done. So as we go into the colder months and as the numbers continue to increase, while we can't mandate mask wearing, I know if we could, we would. It can't be mandated, just like you can't mandate good behavior. But hopefully we can strongly encourage our residents to increase our safety measures, all that we've already discussed. As you well know, Jim, being in the medical field, the hand washing, the mask wearing. I just wanted to make sure that we did have that full discussion, which we have on a number of occasions, to make sure that we're doing all that we possibly can to keep all our residents safe.
Yeah, Dean and I have talked, I don't know how many times, about how can we make people more compliant? How can we get them to wear the mask? How can we? And the problem is that we're suffering a little bit from mask fatigue and social distance fatigue, even with the numbers going up. People are rolling the dice and saying, okay. We had a long conversation on the mayor's meeting with the governor's office today about just this and the frustration of all the mayors, and I joined them in that we have no enforcement capability. So if one of our police officers finds someone who refuses to wear a mask, the process calls for the township to have to call the county prosecutor to give the okay to do we don't know what, because there's no enforcement mechanism in the executive order. So it puts everybody in a bad place. And so it's very difficult, because I get asked all the time, why aren't you telling the police, why aren't you sending the police out to make sure everybody's masked? Well, the fact of the matter is we can't. So it's a tough nut. We have to continue to remind people as we get further into winter. I'm thinking about, again, doing a couple of township-wide conference calls to try and keep a fire under them. We had over 1,000, I believe, Dean, at the last one, which was really great. And we just have to keep hammering away for their own safety and the safety of everybody in town. So I appreciate you bringing this up. It's obviously dear to my heart, and we just got to do it. So
I just want to say that I'm hoping with the TNX Strong initiative, if we can get something going by having groups post pictures. We know that we're fatigued, but if we can at least have this last push through these winter months, I think that we would put ourselves in a much better safe place. So, reaching out to our various community organizations and groups and asking them to help us and unite together, and how we can, tackle this and get out of this fatigue state and just this last push.
Yeah, and Mayor, what I tried to do, and council knows, I tried to issue an executive order after speaking to the health experts, including our health officer, Holy Names experts as well. I thought it was in everyone's best interest that we have an executive order that requires people to wear a mask in all public places, whether you can socially distance and separate or not. After review, John and I worked on this. We got a call from the governor's council, and it was not something we could do. So we tried. It was my intention to do it for a couple months until we get over this second wave. We're seeing that slight uptick, and I'll report on that during my manager's report. But I thought it was prudent to do that for the next couple months. But unfortunately, TNEC cannot enact that executive order that I guess contradicts Governor Murphy's executive order.
Yeah, that was difficult, and I appreciate the try, but unfortunately we got stuff.
But also just want to mention that as we turn into our new leadership in January, President-elect Biden is talking about, for the first 100 days, encouraging, nationally to wear masks. And, for us, why don't we just get a jump on it why wait till then if we can do something now? As you mentioned earlier, Mr. Mayor, as well, the fact that we're talking about June, July, whatever the time frame you mentioned in terms of vaccine. So it's not as if we can just wait for that either.
Right.
And the droplets in the cold, dry weather stay airborne a lot longer than they do, of course, during the summertime and the hot, humid weather. And that was another reason why, again, it's just, I think it's prudent to wear a mask when you're in public at all times, even though you can socially distance and separate yourself from people.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, scattered sites. Councilmember Rice.
I'll kick that off to Mark. And it
Sure.
stemmed from a lovely walk that I had with him and Karen on Saturday. Brisk walk, but we took a look at some sites, and I'm sure, Mark, you can elaborate a little bit.
I'll give credit to Dr. Pruitt, who I believe is on the phone call. Dr. Pruitt brought 2 large tracts of empty land that's not restricted, to the best of our knowledge, to the council. And I was taking a look at it a few years later and thought, hey, what can we do with this land that can be useful to the residents of our community? And I'm keeping in mind this is not referring to apartment buildings by any means, whether they be single family homes or townhomes or workforce housing. But we took a look at the sites, and we want to take a look at it further into the next level. So what I'd like to do is create a task force on these scattered sites. I've asked Councilwoman Romney Rice has agreed to join me on that, I believe, and is hoping Councilwoman Organ can as well, just to look to see. This was an initial report done by a community member, an architect, Mr. Kirk, I believe. Javon, if I got his name right, I apologize.
Yeah, Kirk Mitchell. Mm-hmm.
Kirk Mitchell, I apologize. And so we want to see what was proposed over there and see what can be proposed. It's a longer term project, but something that can only make sure it benefits the community as well. So with that, if we have some approvals, I'd like to start that process.
All right. So we have a motion to create a council. What do you want to call this?
It's a task force. It's a short-term project for a few years. It's not a long-term 25-year committee.
Give me the name of the area.
We call it scattered sites. It's 2 areas. Jim, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you walked the area with us as well. Councilman Organ, myself, and you walked this, and Elizabeth Davis. We looked at some affordable concepts there as well. So Dr. Pruitt's term was Scattered Sites Task Force.
All right, Scattered Sites Task Force.
Yes.
And we have Mark and Vaughn and Karen who serve on that task force. Any objection? No? Okay. Very good. All right, Township Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. To date, going over some of the COVID numbers, current COVID numbers, we're nearing 1,800 positive cases. Our death toll stands at 108. We experienced our first new death since the summer. That, I believe, was a 74-year-old person who died from complications of the virus recently. As everyone knows, Governor Murphy signed Executive Order number 204, which pauses, this is important, indoor practices and competitions for the youth and adult sports from Saturday, December 5th through Saturday, January 2nd, 2021. The executive order also lowers the outdoor gathering limits from 150 to 25 people, and that became effective on Monday, December 7th. Wedding ceremonies, funerals, memorial services, and religious and political activities are not subject to the outdoor gathering executive order. My office continues to have weekly telephone conference calls with School Superintendent Dr. Christopher Irving and Teaneck Health Officer Ken Catter on the status of the COVID-19 pandemic. I do the calls and speak to Dr. Irving every Monday morning at 9 a.m. and Dr. Irving is briefed on the latest health information and status of the virus, and that's been working out well. We've been doing that for the past month. As it was mentioned sometime earlier in the council meeting, I think Dr. Ken Hoffman mentioned it. We received confirmation from Bergen County that we were awarded $119,000 open space grant for the replacement of the band shell. I'm working and have had meetings with the engineer on the design of a new structure. We're also taking input from several people, including Evan Cooper, a local composer, on equipment he may need and how this should be set up. Really looking forward to this project. It is a matching grant, but this is going to run us probably a little bit more than $250,000. We also received a $200,000 NJDOT municipal aid grant for the resurfacing of Oakdean Avenue and Morningside Terrace. That work will start sometime late spring. As the mayor announced, we'll be having our tree lighting ceremony on the municipal green. Again, because of the outdoor gathering restrictions, the ceremony is going to be held virtually. Residents can watch the ceremony at 6 p.m. by going to facebook.com/TNECNJGOV. You do not need a Facebook account to connect. Please do not show up at the municipal green. We will have Father Joe D'Amico from St. A's, Deacon Kevin Regan, and we'll have somebody from their chorus there tomorrow evening, along with some members of council. And again, we have to keep it in compliance with the executive order. So please do not show up at the green. It can be viewed at facebook.com/TNECNJGOV. Friday, I announced to council we're going to have a dedication and vehicle blessing for the new vehicles that recently came in. There's 2 new fire trucks and 4 public works vehicles, including 2 new compactor trucks, 1 new sweeper, Elgin sweeper, and 1 hook lift vehicle. Again, this event will be streamed live at 9 a.m. on Facebook as well. I'd like to personally thank the food pantry and their staff for their extraordinary efforts in making sure no family in Teaneck went hungry this past Thanksgiving. Complete dinners were delivered to the doorsteps of about 150 different Teaneck families. Again, thank you, Rosalind, Karen McAvoy. Some of our delivery drivers, including our acting clerk, Doug Roussillon, Deputy Mayor Ellie Katz. We loaded up a DPW pickup truck. We made our rounds and to make sure, again, the food were delivered to those families that truly needed that service. Shared services, I know this was brought up a short time ago, so that everyone's aware. We have an agreement for recycling pickup, rock salt, liquid calcium chloride, diesel fuel, vehicle repair, and preventive maintenance. We do tree pruning and removal, sign fabrication, pothole repairs, catch basin cleaning, baseball infield renovations, and snow removal. And the Board of Ed also assists the township with snow removal on adjacent streets to the schools. That current agreement expires at the end of 2021. Some additional shared services include busing for after-school programs, use of fields and facilities, and the assignment of a school resource officer to Teaneck High School. We had that meeting, Mayor, back in February. I took out my notes. We had that meeting back on February 6th, 2020, down at Glen Point. And I know some of the things that came up for shared services that included collaborative purchasing, paper and office supplies, technology support, sustainable Jersey projects, and open space grants. So those are some of the things that were shared, and I'm looking forward to working with the Board of Education to see what we can do to save the township and be a little more efficient. As a reminder, the municipal building remains closed to the public. It's by appointment only. All the information is on our website on how to contact department members to conduct business. The Dropbox is still available. Email is available, and the website is available for information. Everything is going very well from my end here at the municipal building. Everyone is staying safe here, and the public has been very cooperative with the appointment process here. So 1 or 2 minor complaints here and there, but for the most part, everything is going relatively well. Again, anyone entering the building must wear a mask. They will be temperature checked, and they must wash their hands upon entry at our hand wash stations. I also released information recently about COVID-19 testing locations. Please, if you're not getting these messages, go to the township's website. The first tab on the left-hand side is to sign up for township alerts. Again, Newbridge Medical Center in Paramus continues to provide testing, as well as drive-through locations in parking lot A at Bergen Community College. Holy Name also offers a drive-through testing. No referral is needed. Anyone can call 201-833-3313. Again, that number for Holy Name is 201-833-3313. You can make your appointment. Again, no referral is needed, and that's for the Holy Name drive-through. The 2021 recycling calendar will be published shortly and mailed to our residents later this month. I'd like to thank Glenna, her staff, Kevin Arahill, his staff for getting this done. We're way ahead of schedule this year. The 2019 road resurfacing project was just completed. I thank the public for their patience. I think some people did not think we were going to get it done, but I think everything came out very well. We were able to overall do 16 streets for the 2019 road resurfacing project, which was done in 2020. Kindergen is a contractor that we contracted with to do all the stump removals and sidewalk repairs after Storm Isaias. They're done with all the stump removals, and they will be done with all the sidewalk repairs by week's end. That should make everyone happy, and I appreciate the public's patience with this. All pre-demolition work at the PEL building was completed on Monday. The building is scheduled for demolition, Keith, Thursday and Friday. I'm looking forward to that as well. I'll be there.
See.
Yes. And work to repair the remainder of the Indian Pond Trail. And this is great news. We did some temporary work to repair the breakage a couple weeks ago. Public Works did a great job. I'm happy to report that starting tomorrow, work is going to be done to repair the remainder of that trail, to level it, put quarry stone down, and it's going to make it a much safer path to walk. So that should be done by week's end. I'm very happy to report that. I know it's a long time coming. We also installed several thermoplastic rumble strips on Queen Anne Road on the north and south side of Walraven Drive, and that's with the intentions of slowing drivers down that approach that pedestrian crosswalk, which is a highly used crosswalk. That was done about 2 weeks ago. We've submitted several care applications. Right now, we're looking at reimbursement of roughly $200,000, which is good news. And we're in the process of conducting the township's energy audit. Wilden Energy Solutions is doing that on behalf of PSE&G, and they will make recommendations. The good thing is that PSE&G will pay 100% of the cost up front for us, and a total of 70% of the total project cost. The town would just have to repay 30% of the total over 3 years, which is interest-free, that goes on our PSE&G bill. So once the complete energy audit is done in town, we'll make some recommendations on what we feel should be replaced. PSE&G pays for it at 100% up front, and then we would be responsible for 30% of the total cost over 3 years, interest-free. End of report.
Okay, thank you very much, Dean.
Thank you.
Township Attorney's report.
My report was made in closed session. Nothing public to report publicly.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to formal meeting items. Township Clerk, please read the titles of the ordinances.
With pleasure, sir. We are considering tonight for adoption 2 ordinances. Ordinance 31-2020, amending section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 36, entitled Traffic of the Township Code, deleting restricted on-street parking spaces for handicap at 1101 Cooper Avenue. And ordinance number 32-2020, an ordinance amending ordinance 19-2020, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing a Special Emergency Appropriation Pursuant to NJSA Title 48, Chapter 4, Section 53H for the payment of contractually required severance liabilities of the Township of Teaneck, County of Bergen, New Jersey.
Okay. Well, now we'll open a hearing for the public.
One second. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. First, we open it to any members of the council. Is the CFO? I'm sorry, I should have asked first. Is the CFO on the call? Issa, if you're on the call, I'd like for you to explain. I'd like for you to explain how the funding works for the appropriation for the severance. I believe it's a zero interest paid back over a few years. So if you can please give the explanation to both us and the public before we adopt that, please.
Yes, happy to do so, Deputy Mayor Schwartz. As council and members of the public may know, we have reached the point in 2019, I think the manager would probably tell me back in 2018, where there are classes of 25-year hirees in police and fire who have decided to take their talents elsewhere, retire, at least from our public safety offices in police and fire respectively. And they have contractually obligated severance payments due for unused sick time that is uncapped. Those police officers hired after January 1, 1996 are capped at $15,000. And the manager can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe fire is also capped at $15,000. However, there's another component to their contract that has to be paid out. The long story made short is that in 2019, we decided to use an allowance from the state in the law that allowed the township to spread the cost out over the next subsequent 5 years of budgets, 1/5 each year. So you would have to essentially, we put a dollar placeholder in the budget, and then we find out what that cost is towards the end of the year that we would have paid had we budgeted it. The officers are made whole with their payments out of the township's coffers in cash. You know, they are paid. And then we essentially borrow the money from the next 5 years' budgets. This ordinance, though, is putting together 2019 and 2020's amount, totaling close to $3 million over those 2 years. There is no interest on this money. We're simply borrowing it from ourselves. However, because we have paid out this cash and the coffers are basically short this amount, we will have to take out a short-term financing note and pay it off, with some small amount of interest. Given the favorable nature of the market, I don't see that as an issue at this time. I hope that made sense.
It does. How many employees do we have left with this pre-1995 matter? The larger payments that.
Yeah, we have. Deputy Mayor, we have about 17 or 18 pre-1996 police officers. A couple are retiring soon. Again, another 1 or 2 around that August 1st area. So we're dwindling down, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel with this.
But when they started in 95, 96, 97, 98, there was none of this money put aside, correct?
We normally set aside $750,000 terminal leave pay.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Just a question. Dean, you mentioned that we have maybe about 17 left. Is there any other way that we can budget or prepare for that final that final group to do it better than perhaps? Can we foresee, can we plan any better?
Unfortunately, it's difficult to do because we just don't know when officers or firefighters are going to retire. There's no requirement to give us advance notice. Of course, the State Division of Pensions and Benefits generally wants at least 3 months notice to process their retirement, insurance, so forth and so on. But, we in the past have budgeted roughly $750,000, but due to, a lot of people retiring, we far exceeded that number. You certainly can put more in the budget, but it's very difficult to plan on who is and who isn't going to retire. It's not only sick time for police prior to 1996, it is holiday time for retirees at the fire department who are able to accrue 100% of that time for the duration of their career. So that's really more problematic to me than the sick time, which is 50% of the sick time accrued for those that were hired prior to 1996. The holiday time is more of an issue for me, and they can accrue 100% of that for the duration of their career and get paid out 100% at top pay.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Other questions, comments? Okay. So now we will open it up for a public hearing.
And again, public hearing, this is specifically for ordinances 31 and 32, members of the public. Good and welfare will be coming momentarily. Again, this public hearing is strictly only for ordinance 31 and 32-2020. I'm going to take this time to also remind the public again that you are allotted 3 minutes for your portion to speak here. And at like 3 minutes, 5 seconds, I will have to mute you. And if you were unable to fit in your thought into your 3 minutes, please send the remainder of your thought to clerk@tnecnj.gov, and I will be sure to include it in its entirety verbatim in the minutes. So please do not take it personal when I mute you after your 3 minutes. First up, I see Miss Paula Rogovin.
Hi, I want to speak during good and welfare.
Oh, okay. Please put your hand up at good and welfare, Ms. Rogovin. We'll be looking for you. So I see Mr. Alan Sohn. I'm bringing him in.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Regarding Ordinance 32-2020, until 2018, as the manager indicated, terminal leave payments, payments to workers who've retired, who did the work decades ago, were paid out of the budget. In 2019, this council started the game of cutting the budget for these payments from several $100,000 down to a single dollar. In 2019, there was a total of $1.3 million paid for terminal leave, and this Ordinance 32-2020 will bring the 2020 total up to $1.6 million paid with debt. Later tonight, in Resolution 275-2020, the township will borrow somewhere between $2.6 and $2.9 million to cover these payments. And there's more. In Resolution 274, the township will further burden residents by borrowing $2.3 million to cover shortfalls that are described in the resolution as COVID-19 related revenue loss during the budget year. This Ordinance 32-2020 is just one part of borrowing piled on top of all the other debt added this year, with $5 million to be added this month alone to cover current operating expenses. Since March, we've been told by the mayor, by Deputy Mayor Katz, and most vocally by Deputy Mayor Schwartz, that there was absolutely nothing to be concerned about. The only thing that could possibly decrease was hotel taxes, and the township had that covered. Now we find out that it's not covered. And what is the other $2 million in revenue shortfalls? Issues had been raised at virtually every single meeting, asking how the township was updating its budget. But month after month, we were told there was nothing to worry about. At the September 8th meeting, a request was made for reports of budgets versus actuals to see how the township is doing financially. Mr. Schwartz rejected even the question, and the minutes clearly state that, quote, Deputy Mayor Schwartz went over the township's budgetary practices and cited responsibility, end quote. This $5 million is in new debt to be added this month is on top of the $8 million estimated owed to Glen Point for their tax appeals dating back to 2007, and they'll be filing a big-time tax appeal in 2021 for their hotels. And we keep on finding out that there are more expenditures on the field house. Mr. Schwartz insists that they're going to be kosher kitchens at $250,000. Mr. Shadanian keeps on talking about lawsuits, but it's his delays and those of township staff in responding to Green Acres that led to yet another $250,000 in added costs. How are we taxpayers ever going to be repaid the $5 million in debt to be added in December alone, caused by the council's fiscal management practices? How will we be repaid for all the other overspending from the rest of this year? I look forward to an answer.
Thank you, Mr. Sohn. Give me 1 second here. I see a Henry. Could it possibly be Dr. Pruitt? I brought him in. Give us 1 second. I brought him in to speak. It seems he got, oh, there he is, Dr. Pruitt. If it is Dr. Pruitt. Henry?
Henry, can you unmute, please?
Henry?
All right, am I unmuted now?
Yeah,
that is Dr. Pruitt. Hello, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. First thing, I want to make sure that the council understands that it's been my observation over the last several meetings that they are very collaborative, and I like to see that. That makes me feel good. Let's keep that up. The second thing is we have to look at the Board of Ed, who has saved a significant amount of money using solar panels.
Henry?
So yes.
Henry, this is the time where we're just talking about those two ordinances.
I want to talk about good and welfare. I'm in the wrong place.
That's okay.
Dr. Pruitt, I will be looking for you come good and welfare.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. 1 second here. I see a Miss Gail Gordon that I am bringing in. Miss Gail Gordon, can you hear me? Miss Gail Gordon, you must unmute. Nope, you're muted now. You had it. Need to unmute, Miss Gordon. Are you there?
Okay.
I'm there.
Awesome. You have 3 minutes, Miss Gordon.
Okay. I remember over all many council elections about a lot of praise being made about the council candidates and how the council was saving so much money and how we had no debt and that we were terrific. And I heard this over and over and over again. So I'm just sort of scratching my head about like what happened. And I'm really worried about our property taxes, and excuse me, but I'm 74, and I have a certain restricted income, and I'm so happy about the development of the town, as not the high rises, forget the high rises, but I'm extremely happy about the parks and all the things for young people to do.
Ms. Gordon, Gordon.
Yeah.
This portion of the meeting.
I just don't understand. I don't understand where this debt all of a sudden came from.
Ms. Gordon, this part of the meeting is just for these two ordinances. You'll have a chance to talk after we take care of these two ordinances.
I thought that one of the ordinances was about debt.
I guess it does. Go ahead.
No, I'm sure I've used up my 3 minutes, and if I have other things to say about it, I'll do it.
You still have less than 2 minutes, Ms. Gordon.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I like to think that I run a good shop here. I have very little income, but I'm able to stay above water. Now, the town has really gone overboard on saying how wonderful this town is on its budget. And I've thought, great, but I've heard people who say, what about this and what about that? And one of the things is about the retirees. And being a retiree myself, I'm sensitive to this. So those people were always poo-pooed, like, like it's not a problem. The retirees are not a problem. And now all of a sudden they are a problem. So what I'm saying is I wish you all would get your act together as far as finances go, be honest and transparent about where the money is going, where is the money going, and lay it all out there for us to judge. And I don't think that we are able to judge. I have modest amount of financial savvy, but I know people who do, so I can get their help. So that's all I'm asking, is just being a little bit more honest and not throwing this at us at the last minute that all of a sudden we have this problem, and that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Now I see Dr. Chuck Powers. Dr. Powers, can you hear me?
Yeah, I want to spend a little more time, see if we can get a little clearer just on 32-2020. Okay, there's no question but what we have an obligation as these folks retire to pay them whatever we contractually agreed to do with about that. And we used to, as I think we've heard pretty clearly from the manager, we used to cover whatever those costs were in the year of when the retiree left. Then in 2019 and 2020, we began to say, well, we're going to pay them over 5 years. So now we're doing that apparently every year. And this year, between the time we did the budget and this particular ordinance, we're going to add another 400,000 to the 1.2 that we had calculated before. I guess the question is, are we on a treadmill that will keep on doing that? As I think that Dean actually sort of admitted, we didn't set aside any money in 2019 to pay the people that were retiring. We only set aside $1, not 750,000 as we had back in 2018. And we didn't set aside any money in 2020 either. And is that going to keep on sort of rolling forward? I think we need to understand more completely what it is that we're doing this. There's no question. At this point, it seems to me, in this part of the year, we're going to have to borrow money in order to cover the cost of people we have not prepared to allow to retire as we contractually agreed that we would do. But my point is, we need to have a much clearer picture than we've gotten from either Isa or from Dean as to just exactly how this is going to continue to play out. Thank you.
I don't see anybody else in the queue. Doug?
Neither do I, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll close.
Thank you, Dr. Powers.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Yes.
So can I have a motion to move ordinance number 31-2020?
No. We get to respond first.
Well, wait. Mark, you asked first to speak first, and now you're wanting to speak again.
It's crazy what America allows. The freedom of speech is crazy.
We're gonna have to redo the agenda for you in this section.
I would like to move adoption of both of them and speak during discussion.
Second.
Okay.
Second, MP. So that was a first by Councilman Kaplan. Roll call on ordinance 31 and 32-2020. Councilwoman
Don't skip discussion. Hold on 1 second.
No, Councilmember Kaplan's correct. It's now discussion. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Deputy Mayor Schwartz, this is how we play. Look, the people that spoke seem to have been glossing over a couple of facts, and the public deserves to hear them. This is specifically... How to say this easiest? It would be wonderful if everybody got hired, next one got hired the next year, next one hired the next year, and then when they retire, this one retires, then this one retires, then this one retires. But that doesn't happen. Sometimes they go in clumps. And when one or two retire, it's very easy to go and pay that out, and we could do it in our budget. But when you have a group of people, it can, really hit a town, so much so that the state prepares for this contingency. It's a known thing. And they created an entire statute. And the statute says, we'll give you the money and you pay it out now, and you pay it back to us over 5 years at 0% interest. Now, some people might want to say, no, let's tax our people now. And, that's not me. I don't want to tax everyone now when we can pay this out over 5 years and literally pay the exact same amount. We're getting this at 0% interest. So, when someone says you're not preparing for paying all of this in 1 year, That's correct. And it's because the state has a statute on point specifically for this emergency contingency, and it's only applicable in this emergency contingency, and they call it an emergency in the state statute. So, I mean, look, I get that you want to come here and say we're all, don't know anything and we're bumbling fools, but the state planned this. The people retired in a clump, and we're acting on the state's authority. So with that, I would like to, unless anyone has something to say, move for a vote.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it's the proper time for me to speak.
The chair will allow you for a
Thank you.
moment.
I apologize. I didn't realize I was supposed to wait for the motion and speak, and that's what I intended to do, so my apologies. Okay, the points made by the public were very, very good points, and my name was quoted a lot, so I'll respond to those points. Back in May, back in May when we prepared the budget, actually April, we were in good shape. Our shortfall is as a result of approximately 4 items: hotel occupancy tax, our court fees. We have not been pulling people over for speeding, basically, our building fees, and our recreation fees. Those are where the shortfall is. Now, the shortfall is really not $2.35 million because we have $1.2 million in sewer billing that was just issued. So we're short about $1.1 million. But as far as to Miss Gail Gordon's comment about, where's all the money going to, and we have to get our house in shape, what we've been able to do with most the Board of Ed and many other municipalities is not, we've been able to not raise the municipal portion of her payments. She pays right now on Pinewood Lane $7,504 a year. Of that $7,500 a year that she pays, $2,431 of it is for municipal portion. That has not been raised in virtually 6 years. What we could have done, and maybe what we should have done, is raise it every single year. Why not? Because we may need it, we should need it, and then take that money and just build up our surplus. And one thing Councilman Castle taught me was surplus isn't extra money, it's money you took from the taxpayers. So my belief and the belief of this council was we're going to go in prudently year after year after year, take as little as possible from Ms. Gordon, and then, if need be, see where we need to wind up. And the state, as Councilman Kaplan said, allowed us this avenue of these people who are employees who are retiring to spread it out over several years. Or, and only Teaneck suffered a pandemic. In a pandemic where we are short $1 million because the last few months we have been unable to issue court fees, hotel fees, building fees, or rec fees to borrow that money. So I would love not to borrow it. I would have loved to collect it. But we haven't, and now we're going to be looking to borrow that money at about 1.4%. And I believe that is the prudent way of doing this instead of raising your taxes for 6 years in a row. I look forward to supporting this, and thank you very much.
So, Councilwoman Organ, then Deputy Mayor Katz.
So just to explain a little bit further, and maybe Dean can back me up, all of these people that we're paying out now that are retiring at their highest salary. And now we're hiring replacements for them, and they come in at a much lower salary. So this is cyclical, and it just happens to be that right now, a lot of people, I know because I keep going to their walkouts, and it's very sad to see, are leaving us because it's that time. But now we're hiring a new class of municipal employee, and they will start off at a lower salary, and this will equal out.
Tremendous breakage.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
I would just like to point out that in reference to what Ms. Gordon said, that I'm one of those people that have been boasting and flaunting the council's 6 years in a row 0% increase on the municipal side. I see nothing wrong with having debt. Obviously, we want to try to minimize it as much as possible, especially as it was explained by Councilman Kaplan and Deputy Mayor Schwartz. This was extraordinary circumstances. And especially this year, when it is an extraordinary year, I'm going to continue my my charge of not supporting any more increases on the municipal side. we've been doing a phenomenal job on bringing in a great amount of revenue. Our expenses have been going up, and we've we'll hopefully be able to deliver or continue to deliver 0% increases because of the proper management that we have in place right now.
Any other comments? Okay, so the motion is for ordinance number 31, 2020 and ordinance number 32, 2020. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Who was the first on that, Mayor? I apologize. Councilman Kaplan?
Kaplan.
And then the second was Councilman Began.
Yep.
Councilwoman Romney Rice.
Yes.
Councilman Began.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
31 and 32-2020 ordinances are adopted, out for publication.
All right. So now the meeting is open to the public. And we'll have 3 minutes. Doug will be allowing you in, and he will be doing the timing.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, members of the public, I just want to remind everybody that this is good and welfare for anything on the agenda, anything on your mind that you'd like to bring up to council. Again, you have 3 minutes. I will unfortunately have to cut you off after 3 minutes because I've learned that interrupting is not that efficient. So if you get interrupted and you were not able to fit your entire thought in that 3 minutes, please feel free to email clerk@tnecnj.gov, and I will be sure to enter your comment verbatim into the minutes. So again, we'll have 3 minutes for each person going down the line here. I see 1, 2, 3, Sandy, which I believe is Miss Sandy Silverberg.
I've unmuted, I believe.
You are, Miss. You have 3 minutes.
All righty. Some kudos, some comments, some queries. Is it any wonder that I love our town manager? I mean, did you hear that list? That's just a list of accomplishments. So I'm embarrassing him again, but I don't care. I also want to thank Ron, who arranged to have the concert that we just had play. Yeah, thank you, Ron. Playing in the loop. I really, really appreciate that. You did a great job to bring this entertainment to people who suffer from the digital divide and don't have access to computers. So thank you for that, Ron. I wanted to recognize that. I want to thank Karen for connecting me with the quote unquote age unfriendly, did I really say that? TNEC. I was able to make that contact, and Ron was so helpful there. I want to say that the Friends of the TNEC Library are way ahead of everybody. We have concerts that are being broadcast via the equipment through the library. We are planning to have outdoor concerts if we can, but we've already started our concert series. It's still up, by the way, the one that took place in November, on November 15th. It's still there for your enjoyment until December 15th. Our next concert, right on point, is going to be at the winter solstice on December 20. We are going to have a wonderful guitarist, but this is a one-time only concert. It's going to be live streamed. So this can dovetail very nicely with the TNEC Strong. I'll be glad to plug in my opening comments during the concert, or in the beginning of the concert, TNEC Strong. I think that the Friends of the TNEC Library can be a group that will be happy to support that kind of collaborative effort. Thank you very much. Bravo, of course, to the BLM committee. Thank you, Cory Booker. I here for Paul Ostrow. Complete support. Don't forget, he's also treasurer of the Library Board of Trustees. And the other thing I want to comment on is that the Friends of the Library are going to be launching a readathon in conjunction with the schools and school children in Teaneck. And I need your help to make a bridge for me to contacts in the school system for children during the winter months. So if you can help me with that, I would be delighted. And I think that is all I have in terms of comments and kudos. And I just have a query or two.
Ms. Silverberg, I apologize. You're
I'm
past
done?
2 minutes.
Okay.
But if you'd like, of course, you have my email. Please send them our way, and I will be sure that council and/or Dean receives them. I'm sorry, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Sandy. I have a Mr. Matthew Smith.
Good evening. Thank you, Doug, and good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Matthew Smith. I'm the New Jersey Director for Food and Water Watch, speaking on behalf of our 72,000 members and supporters in the state of New Jersey, our 1,700 members and supporters in Teaneck. And I'm here to speak on community choice aggregation. I want to thank Councilwoman Romney Rice for putting this issue on the agenda this evening. I specifically wanted to address a couple of the issues that did come up in the discussion on the agenda item. Councilmember Kaplan had asked a question about RECs versus other options. There's nothing in the New Jersey Energy Aggregation Act that prohibits towns from directly contracting with renewable energy providers and generators to meet their renewable portfolio standards under a community choice agreement. While it is true that most towns choose to utilize renewable energy credits to meet their obligations, the township does have other options through a virtual power purchase agreement or through direct development, as well as the expanding community solar program. I did want to also provide an update on the Sustainable Essex Alliance, which Maplewood is a member of. It is true that they had paused because their latest round of bidding did not command competitive pricing, but 2 months later, they got the pricing that they were looking for. That program has restarted, and the residents of those 4 towns who have already saved $15 million since the program inception will begin saving money again immediately, while increasing the percentage of clean energy that those 4 towns are utilizing. As far as the pricing of renewable energy credits, there is strong evidence that increased purchasing of RECs does facilitate, in fact, ongoing expansion of energy generation. It was, noted by Councilman Kaplan that while it is true there's no direct correlation that RECs purchase will lead directly to energy development in the state of New Jersey, clean energy development, it is very true that as renewable energy companies in the free market see the increasing demand for RECs, that the supply of clean energy will continue to increase. New Jersey is breaking ground on what will be the nation's largest offshore wind project, expected to be online in 2024, providing wind power for over 500,000 New Jersey residents. And the state of New Jersey meets its renewable energy requirements in large part due to the purchasing of RECs. So it is very much state policy to utilize renewable energy credits to increase renewable energy demand and therefore facilitate and increase renewable energy development within the PJM grid. In terms of clean air, much of the air pollution affecting North Jersey and much of New Jersey actually comes from Pennsylvania. Large coal plants and other oil and fossil fuel burning facilities.
Mr. Smith, I apologize. You were past that 3-minute mark and we just have a lot of people trying to speak. Again, I invite you to please send your comments to clerk@tnecknj.gov, and I will be sure to add any other comments that you had verbatim into the minutes. It's always a pleasure hearing from you, Mr. Smith. Again, I apologize. I'm bringing in Ms. Paula Rogovin Again, Ms. Rogovin, please try to stick to the 3 minutes. I know it can be hard. If I cut you off, please don't take it personally. Just send the rest of your statement to my email. I'll be sure to include it.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. Community choice aggregation is such an important initiative, and I'm really hope that we can move forward, get the questions answered. If anybody has questions about it, we'll get them answered. Matt Smith is an expert on this, where there are other people who are experts, plus the people in towns that have this program already. Because it's a bulk purchase, generally the price is lower. So the whole town, all the residents in town are part of it. Price is generally lower, but as Matt Smith said, not always, but it's a very flexible contract and can be, it's not long-term. We're not locked into it for decades. And so towns can drop out of it and get back into the program to make it cost-effective for residents. In the program, in CCA, the effort is to get the renewable energy contract from companies that are as close as possible, as local as possible. So no, TNEC will not get cleaner air because of the program. We're not going to get cleaner air, but the region will get cleaner air. And the more towns and cities that become part of CCA, the more towns and cities that are part of it, the cleaner the air will be, because we will be using renewable sources, wind, solar, and so not frack gas. There is the environmental justice issue, which makes it imperative that we do something like this, because we know, especially with the evidence from COVID, that the use of fossil fuels, the burning of fossil fuels, is already taking place in overburdened communities, Black and Latino communities, environmental justice communities, low-income communities. And these are people who are also getting hit most directly and most severely by COVID. So it's not just like, what can we do to lower our prices, our fuel, our electricity prices, but what can we do to work against environmental racism? And this is a very critically important issue. We need to push renewable energy use as much as possible to prevent racial injustice. And this is very important. It's not a me issue. It's us. It's it's for the whole state, for the whole community. We have to be thinking more broadly than just our own self-interest. So
I apologize, Ms. Rogovin, you were past that 3-minute mark. Again, if you missed anything in your statement there, please feel free to email it to me. I know that you have my email. I just brought in Ms. Arjamond. Can you hear me? Please unmute.
Hi, this is Shanaz. Did you just call on me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes, miss.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I want to talk about two things. One is that Board of Ed and Council, I'm really glad to see the dialogue open, and I'm really glad to see that the town will work as one. I also want to congratulate the campaign that was run for the Board of Ed and all the candidates. They were really fantastic candidates, and especially the way they supported each other. And I'd like to see elections run like that, and how they were very encouraging of each other. I saw each of those candidates saying, no matter who wins, we're all really running for the same thing, and really recognizing each other and supporting and mentoring. I especially want to recognize that we had a 19-year-old who ran for the Board of Ed this time, and it speaks to volumes of TNEC, how we encourage our young students to get involved in civics and government. So I want to recognize that, and how all of the candidates supported her in her campaign as well. Also want to hope the council continues to build this relationship regardless of who majority of the council supports in the Board of Ed elections. This should not be limited to who they supported this time, but regardless of who the majority of the council supports. But it's very encouraging, and also would like to see how we build on the leadership, especially as we get young people more and more involved in civics and government, to see if we can build some sort of a mentoring program to develop people so that they could run for office. So we don't have people sitting in these seats for multiple terms, and also so we don't put a block or a stoppage on the next Kamala Harris that could be coming from TNEC, I hope. The second thing I want to talk about is racism. I am really encouraged about the lecture series that we are planning. As you know, as per Coalition to Unite, TNEC had a series of lectures on racism. They were well attended, but it was with an intent to create action. So out of those lecture series, there were action items that came upon. One of them, as you know, Mayor Dunleavy, we met with you and the police chief, and we addressed some of those action items, specifically with the fear of the youth, that they spoke about what they fear in TNEC, and it was alarming for me to hear that. And I tell you, I live near Stop and Shop, and when I saw all those police cars the other night, it scared me. And then I saw, I looked out the window and I could see the police cars all over, and I was terrified. And I can just see how everybody gets terrified. And to learn that there was a shooting in TNEC the other night was alarming too.
I'm sorry, Ms. Shanaz, we're past that 3-minute mark. Again, if you need to submit anything to my email, I will be certain to include it in the minutes. Need to try and stick with that 3-minute mark, everybody. I apologize. Please don't take it personal. I'm bringing in the one and only Mr. Kevin Arahill, DPW Director of the Township. Can you hear me, Kevin? You need to unmute yourself, sir.
Okay, how about now?
You sound great, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for listening to me tonight. I really am just here to go on the record supporting Resolution 271 for the relocation of the DPW facility. I think we're all aware at this time of the problems with our current facility, the structural integrity of the building for one, but more specifically as far as the location, I feel, due to the restraints of being along the river, it does make sense to look into other areas, and I think that's the right way to go, especially with the current flood maps being putting further restraints on us. Also being in the flood area during storms is quite a problem when we need our facility the most. We are often out of our facility due to flooding. So, that again, bringing into the impact on the environment being along the river. So I just wanted to voice my support of looking into the relocation of the building. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Arahill.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too, sir. Please be safe. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I am bringing on Arsalan now. You need to unmute yourself, Arsalan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. I also want to express my support for Resolution 271 authorizing relocation of the DPW facility. As you all know that the building is in bad shape, we stabilize it, made it safer by using some emergency measures. And of course, they're temporary. And we are monitoring it very closely and making sure that it stays safe. But sooner or later, we need to address the problem permanently. And the permanent fix in that location is going to cost a lot of money because of the soil situation, the flood zone issue, environmental, as Kevin just mentioned. And, of course, while doing it, you will also be disrupting the operations. So I think the right thing to do is what is proposed in the resolution is to relocate the facility in a better location where we can build in a state-of-the-art facility and actually do it at an optimal cost. And that will be the right thing for the town. So I would like to support the resolution and thank you for that.
Thank you, Arson. I'm bringing in a Linda Burns.
Good evening.
Hello, Ms. Burns. You have 3 minutes. Again, if I cut you off at 3 minutes, please don't take it personal.
Okay, I'd like to express my appreciation to Councilwoman Organ and Councilman Schwartz for agreeing to meet with Victoria Fisher and I. However, I just need to clarify for the record that we were not there representing the Board of Ed. We were meeting as residents because we can't represent the Board of Ed. And the other, for further clarification, while Victoria Fisher is a current member of the Finance Committee, I am not. The reason, as you know, and as you heard tonight, there's a really great relationship operationally between the township and the Board of Ed. Mr. Kaczynski just laid out all of the various ways that we're sharing resources, and that's really great. The reason why I wanted to reach out was to repair the relationship between the governing bodies. There was a history of animus that wasn't doing the township any good. The Teaneck public school system is an integral part of the township. And so any pot shots that were taken against the Board of Ed by council members is just not a good look for Teaneck as a whole. And I am really looking forward to this new spirit of collaboration and creative thinking. I had also met with Mayor Dunleavy on the same topic, and we also had a very productive conversation. So I am looking forward to the future, and thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you very much, Liz Burns. I am now bringing in Miss Ortiz. Miss Ortiz, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good evening.
No 3 minutes, Miss.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the council. Thank you so much for your leadership. I am a nonprofit CEO. I'm an attorney and I'm an equity leader and a member of Teaneck Women Together. Thank you for fielding some communications from our group and your responses. We are grateful for that. I just wanted to speak to the lecture series on racism that falls within diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just ask some, key questions. What is the goal of this series? How is your process eliciting the issues in town that create the barriers that you talked about between groups? It sounds like this may live and breathe on the advisory board on community relations. So how is that board working potentially with other groups or equity experts? And how is that work going to continue to live and breathe so that there's action? You talk about not one group sort of being, I guess, the focal point, but in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and equity being the big piece, it's really about marginalized voices. So I just wanted to stress that. And then lots of institutions right now in this state of heightened, racial awareness, corporations, and even municipalities are having intentional conversation around anti-racism that leads to action, like Shanaz mentioned earlier. And then just lastly, I'll say that anti-racism is really a personal journey. It is a commitment that people have to make. And I'm wondering how our town is going to create a willingness for people to enter that personal journey. How will each of you create that willingness or have that willingness to enter that as our leaders? I do expect TNEC to lead in this area in Bergen County. I know that we can. So I appreciate the lecture series and look forward to more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ortiz. Sam DeFalco.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. You have 3 minutes, Sam DeFalco.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam DeFalco, and I'm an organizer with Food and Water Action. Today, speaking on behalf of our 1,700 members and supporters in TNEC on 100% renewable energy aggregation program. Thank you again to Congresswoman Romney Rice for placing this on the agenda this evening. Renewable energy aggregation program is a win for TNEC residents and a win for our climate and environment. Through the power of bulk purchasing electricity as a community, not only can TNEC residents source their energy from clean renewable sources without having to install solar panels or change their electricity provider, but this ordinance can save residents money. Just one example of this can be seen in New Brunswick, where residents have saved more than 6% on their electric supply because their council on their electricity bills because their council enacted a renewable energy aggregation program. Many New Jersey municipalities have already implemented this program and have had great success. In 2020 alone, elected officials approved 100% renewable energy aggregation programs in Edison, Red Bank, and Collingswood. And we can see this as a program that residents want because just last month, East Brunswick residents overwhelmingly voted to start their own renewable energy aggregation program, with over 70% of voters supporting this policy. This program is also a significant way that local governments like TNEC can take action to address the climate crisis. We know that the federal government has yet to adequately address the climate crisis and facilitate a transition off of harmful fossil fuels and onto clean energy. So we need our local leaders like you to enact smart policies like community energy aggregation as soon as possible, which will grow the overall renewable energy portfolio and lessen overall reliance on fossil fuels. The climate crisis is worsening, and as it worsens, we will see more damage from storms, flooding, and drought, and much of the costs of mitigating these effects will be borne by state and local municipal budgets. This then will put a further strain on the already overstressed budgets in New Jersey. But one way that TNEC Council can act now to help address the climate crisis locally is to avoid much larger costs down the road is to enact a renewable energy aggregation program that will hopefully save residents money right now in the process. Fossil fuels are a dying industry and renewables are the future. So we urge you to enact a renewable energy program to bring clean energy at lower cost to TNEC residents. We're more than happy to continue to dialogue with all of you to talk about the benefits of this program to TNEC. So thank you for considering my comments, and I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. DeFalco. I am now bringing in a Lisa Rose. Lisa Rose, please unmute. Lisa Rose, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. You have 3 minutes.
Right. Thank you very much. I just wanted to promote again what the past speaker just said. I appreciate Javon Rice bringing up the issue of renewable energy that TNEC could participate in as a township. I'm glad that Keith Kaplan, he was at the meeting. He knows about what we're recommending. I think that is it possible that the entire town council can become more familiar with this idea of renewable energy, this aggregate. Maybe the town council can sit with Matthew Smith, who is the head of Food and Water Watch, and the other DeFalco, Ms. DeFalco, who's also part. Maybe they could invite these two very knowledgeable people in so everyone in the council is familiar with this issue so the township can consider renewable energy. We are in a crisis. The environmental issues after January 20th are going to come up every day in the world news, in the United States news. And I think Teaneck should participate as much as possible for the environment. And because we can do something in Teaneck just by the town council becoming better educated in this issue by inviting Matthew Smith and other representatives and Paula Rogovan to come to them in a small meeting. And then the town council can recommend workshops maybe for the township to come into. But I think that every individual town council member has to become educated in this renewable aggregate, not as also the environmental commission that Keith Kaplan is part of. They should become totally educated and then educate every member of the town council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I am bringing in a Ashley and Raina W. I don't think it's two people. That's just what their Zoom name is. Ashley and Raina W. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is just Ashley here. I'm sorry I didn't update my name to take out my sister. She's here, but I'm the only one speaking right now.
It's all good, Ashley. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for your leadership. I just pray that you continue to do so diligently and with all prudence. My short comment tonight is just in regards to the open space recreation plan that was mentioned as a part of Dr. Hoffman's presentation. Really, my question is just to reiterate what was stated in that presentation, which is just an update on the status of that OSRP, why it has been sitting in limbo for almost 2 years now, and why it has yet to have been approved and incorporated into the township's master plan. I have spoken before the council in the past in regards to this matter. And for me, I think it's very important, obviously, in addition to all the comments tonight in regards to the climate and environment, clean energy, and the new scattered sites task force that was just adopted. Obviously, open space and recreation is very important in the township of Teaneck. Particularly to me, this current pandemic only magnifies the importance of open space, particularly for our physical and mental health. And I think just more attention and importance should be placed on that plan, adopting it into the master plan, and just helping to continue the vitality and sustaining the culture of Teaneck, which is anchored in our health and physical and mental well-being. Again, just to reiterate, with the onset of the pandemic and the way things are going, open space is imperative. And so I just wanted to speak on that and just ask again, just if anyone can provide any insight as to what's going on with adopting and incorporating that into the master plan. Thank you all, and I will continue to fold my laundry.
Thank you, Ashley. I hope that goes very quickly for you tonight.
Oh,
I see a Dan Hirsch that I am bringing in. Dan Hirsch, please unmute yourself.
How's that? Can everybody hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Appreciate your service. I'd like to raise an issue tonight, something that touches upon both quality of life issues here in Teaneck, and but also on the environment, which, from what I've heard over the last couple of hours, is something that is really forefront on a lot of people's minds. The issue I'd like to raise has to do with the use of two-stroke gasoline-powered engines most commonly used in gas-powered leaf blowers, which, as many of you know, depending on where you live in Teaneck, can be a constant source of noise throughout the day and constant source of pollution, right? So many studies have shown these gas-powered engines, one of them running for 10 minutes gives off the same amount of emissions as 17 cars. So if you see some of these crews going around, sometimes using 2 or 3 of these at a time up and down the block, you can imagine the amount of emissions into the environment. This is something we could solve and have an immediate impact on our environment, more so than a lot of some of the other proposals I've heard about. In addition, the amount of noise pollution is immense. The decibel levels of these machines is sometimes well over 100 decibels per machine. And as I said, a few of them running at a time is greatly above the safely recommended levels given out by the World Health Organization, which is usually in the range of 65 to 75 decibels. Other towns in our area, Larchmont, New York, a few others have taken the steps of banning these gas-powered engines and requiring the use of battery-powered, electric only, or rake. And I think, especially during these COVID times when many people are working from home and many kids are going to school from home, this is something that would benefit many, many of our residents from a quality of life issue, as I mentioned, and it would benefit all of us from an environmental issue, from an environmental aspect. All right, it's something I'd like us all to consider. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. I am bringing in Dr. Pruitt again. Give it a second. Unsure why it takes so long to bring him in. Dr. Pruitt, unsure if you could hear me, but I did bring you in. Let's give him another minute. It took a second before to connect him. It might be, Dr. Pruitt, if you could hear me, maybe it's something with your connection.
That's usually my job to handle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Dr. Pruitt, if you end up popping up on our panelist screen or back in the attendees, we will come back to you. I'm just trying to move it along. We have a lot of people here this evening. I'm bringing in Mr. Alan Sohn.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Of course we can pass an OSRP. The mayor, the deputy mayor, and an appointed township employee serve on the planning board. If the mayor or deputy mayor would merely push the action, the OSRP will be approved. The township manager is correct that there was $750,000 allocated in the budget for terminal leave, but only until 2018. If it had been kept in the budget, and perhaps the balance above $750,000 could have been covered through borrowing. Instead, starting in 2019, the council decided to play games and cut the budget line for terminal leave to $1 and borrow all of the funds using debt. It's not just the failure to set aside money year by year, it's the deliberate removal of the $750,000 from the budget that created the bulk of the shortfall. That is why Resolution 275 is on the agenda to borrow up to $2.9 million. Resolution 274 covers borrowing for revenue shortfalls, which we're told are hotel occupancy taxes, court, building, and recreation fees. All those new residents moving into the township will be forced to foot the bill to cover their unfair share of the $5 million bill to pay employees who never worked a day for the township after they moved in, and revenue shortages for 2020. Residents deserve some small measure of honesty and transparency from this township council. Mr. Kaplan, and the entire council were warned that the only way that the 19 and 20 budgets were presented as 0% were based on deliberately removing that $750,000 for terminal leave. Our neighboring municipalities reconsidered their 2020 budgets, and Mr. Pagan is well aware that the county basically tore up its budget. but this council refused to do so. Meeting after meeting, we residents were misled through repeated statements that the only shortfall was in hotel occupancy taxes and they were covered. We need to see regular reports so that we can follow for ourselves and not wait for last-second admissions. I was astonished to discover Mr. Schwartz announce entirely on his own that the Voti Park Fieldhouse kitchens were inflated by $250,000 in order to keep them halal and kosher. I'm certain that there is no way to have a kosher kitchen that is being made available to the public at large for rent and to keep it kosher, let alone any way to do so at taxpayer expense. I look forward to an explanation. Mr. Shadanian has had tremendous problems dealing openly and honestly with Green Acres, and it was that lack of honesty and forthrightness that created problems with the field house. Residents countywide were opposed to the use of Overpeck as a dinosaur park, and the county ultimately rejected the idea. How will we get the county, and more importantly, how will we get Green Acres to go along with an effort to turn a park and divert it into a municipal repair and recycling site? Where will the land be covered for the diversion? If we can't get an answer to these, how can we go ahead with an approval of this resolution? Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. I just had Dr. Pruitt on, but then he popped off again. So again, Dr. Pruitt, if you can hear me, if you get back on as a panelist, I will keep you there, and hopefully we will hear from you this evening. Bringing in Dr. Chuck Powers. Hello, Dr. Powers.
I'm trying to start my video. Okay, great.
3 minutes.
I want to first place thank both Dean Kaczynski and Kevin Aaronhill for the extraordinary skill that they have organized with the DPW in order to make the Andreas Park Pond trail work again and reestablish that very important piece of the Greenway. It's an extraordinary piece of work. It seems to me actually that given what skills exist in DPW, that we could figure out some much more creative way to handle our huge problem with leaves. We don't have to choose bagging over against putting stuff into the street. We could simply say there are incentives. We'll help you do the bagging. If you can't do the bagging, don't put your stuff out there until a firm schedule 1 or 2 days before they're going to come by. And then we could solve the problem of people spending much of the time in the fall worrying about these issues. There's no question but what our DPW has skill. The question that I have right now is, how was it that we decided after back in 2015, it was clear that there was a good path forward if we had a good environmental study and a good other design. Why couldn't we figure out a way to do a remediation that worked its way through the existing DPW facility instead of trying again, because we've tried it before unsuccessfully, to get the county to say, okay, you can take part of our park that we have promised the state that we would leave forever, and go through the very, very long, let me tell you, we are not talking about something that can happen in a year or two process. In order to get part of the county park, where everybody said they didn't want a Jurassic dinosaur park, to a much less park-friendly use, I don't think there's much chance that the public is going to stand for that when that issue begins to get framed. I think we need to figure out how to take the existing facility and stop putting our residents, of which I'm one that goes there once a week, and our employees at risk, and get on with the business of doing the cleanup on River Road. In my judgment, you have almost no chance of achieving the other process. There will be a lot of public that comes out and tells you how much they don't want that to happen. One last quick thing, Mr. Kaplan, that emergency program that you point out the state has is normally available only for a single year. about the time that TNEC goes back for its 3rd or 4th year, I don't think we're going to get approval to go ahead and use that program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Powers.
Hello.
Oh, wait, Mr. Pearson, I apologize. It seems like Dr. Pruitt has finally connected. I'm going to leave you here. Dr. Pruitt, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You have
I'd
3
like-
minutes, sir. Sorry, Mr. Pearson. Please stay where you are.
Mr. Pruitt can always go before me.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson.
I'd like to thank the Scott Pleasant for nominating me and the council for voting unanimously to name the street after me. And I want to thank all those people who stood in the cold at sundown to commemorate the particular event. I'd also like to talk about catching up with Mark Schwartz. I'm really concerned about the space that we're talking about on Shepherd Avenue and Bedford Avenue. I'm hoping we're talking about neighborhood improvement, and I want to be able to help to make the people understand that that's what we're about when the situation gets to that. The other thing is the Board of Ed has saved a lot of money with solar panels, and there are about 5 houses on Voorhees Street with solar panels. At the end of the day, is how much can you save on your electricity bill? So a recommendation would be, as we put up these new developments, put solar in the mix. The last thing I want to say is that the council in the last couple of meetings has sounded like a township council should sound. And I give you all congratulations for that. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pruitt. Mr. Pearson, you still on?
I am still on. Can you hear me?
Awesome, sir. Yes. And you indeed also have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, council member. Thank you, Mayor Dunleavy. My name is Bernard Pearson. I am the founder of the Girl is Good Foundation, an organization that was instrumental in working with the township to, as a grassroots effort to start the splash pad. Also a member of member of the PPRAB, and a lifelong resident of TNEC. So thank you for giving me some time. My organization has circulated a petition for the open space recreation plan, and we've obtained approximately 500 signatures in interest to have that plan pushed forward. I sat in on a planning board meeting back in July of 2019, I want to say it was, and just not sure why that plan still sits unsigned, and very curious as to why we spent up to $20,000 to have a plan reviewed that's already been done by an open space recreation plan professional, Ms. Barbara Davis, who has more than 90 open space recreation plans under her belt. So just curious about why that happened. Would like to understand what the ultimate plan is with this new group, the Nishuan group, I understand. And just want to understand a little bit about how they were selected for this endeavor. The one thing, a few things concern me with the overall process. One is the group that was selected is a urban space developer, and that's concerning. TNEC is suburban, so just want to understand a little bit more about that. Concerned about how we could allocate $20,000 for a plan that has sat for over 18 months. In doing so, it seems as if we are okaying the fact that the planning board sat on that plan for over 18 months. Doesn't make much sense to me. So in addition to that, I did speak with Ms. Barbara Davis just to understand if there was something she did wrong or why she felt her plan wasn't approved. And she did confirm that she is a licensed planner with a lot of history and credibility. So again, just want to understand how that happened and understand how Resolution 250-2020 was approved and what it was approved for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. And I see Dr. Ken Hoffman cleaning up as per usual. Dr. Hoffman, can you hear me? Got to unmute there, Dr. Hoffman.
There we go. So I got to speak first as chair of the Most
3
Trust
minutes,
Fund.
sir.
Sorry?
Just a reminder about the 3 minutes, Doctor. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. 3 minutes as my advisory board chair and 3 minutes as a private citizen. That gives me 6. So it's part of my.
Three altogether, although I could listen to you talk all night.
Well, thank you very quickly. First and most importantly, I want to thank Doug, who's Dr. Zoom, in making sure that everything works well. And certainly those who know me personally know that without Doug's expertise, nothing that I would do with Zoom would work. I also want to thank Ron for all of his work over the years. I mean, I don't think we have had a meeting in Teaneck since I've been involved in the last 15, 20 years that he's been involved in Clarence for doing all of his work as well. And I also want to thank, if Kevin is still on, DPW, with all of the recycling needs, the leave needs, the leadership and cooperation, the responsiveness to the citizenship has been fantastic, and I congratulate them all. With respect to the thing about the Historical Commission, Ms. Turner, and we had a major discussion during our MOST meeting. I'd like to remind the council that when the recommendation from MOST was made in October of 2017, council did appropriate $25,000 of an $85,000 request so that the Historical Commission could start. So there is money somewhere in the hopper to get things done. It was not spent, but there is money there. And there was also a budget, which really has not changed in the last 3 years. I did not know, and for Deputy Mayor Schwartz, and again, this may be the only miscommunication in the last month, about the Holoba property. Kept talking about it, that potentially trying to buy it or trying to get a piece of it. And hopefully we can figure out a way, and I know nothing about buying land in Bogota and bringing it to New Jersey, to Teaneck, and whether or not we have to change boundaries and legalisms and legislature stuff. But the fact is, I think we should seriously consider looking into that issue. With respect to the DPW site, I am also, as part in the past, being the Environmental Advisory Board chair. Dr. Powers was a major member. Mayor Dunleavy, when he was not Mayor Dunleavy, was also a member of this. There's a lot of issues with the environmental contamination that is there just by the long history of DPW and a police firing range and submerged or underground oil tanks and being against the river. Our LSRP, whose group, which is wonderful, Joe Sorgi and his group, recognize that there's going to be a lot of cleanup if we are going to continue to stay there, besides the building issues that Arsalan, as a member of the FASDEC engineering group, has brought to our attention. So I certainly think that this is something we should look into. I agree with Dr. Powers that I don't think this is a slam dunk, and it will be interesting to see how this plays out over the next year or two with the park and the Green Acres and things of that nature. Finally, I think as far as I'm aware, there is really no kosher kitchen in the field house. We do have 2 kitchens, and that was decided over a year ago due to the Orthodox Jewish organizations saying that they would need control of the kitchens in order to make sure that it was still kosher. I think it was just a...
Dr. Hoffman, I apologize. You were past that 3-minute mark. Please send the rest of your remarks to my email. I certainly know that you have it, and I will be sure to include it with the rest of your statement in the minutes verbatim. Mayor, at this time, I do not see any other attendees.
All right, so we'll close good and welfare for this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we extend the meeting by 20 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Schwartz. You beat me to it. So to 11:20?
If that wasn't out of line, Mr. Attorney, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz, as always, very precise.
I was just texting him and telling the manager.
I'm telling you. All right. Any objection? Another 15 minutes? 11:15? Hearing none. Let's move ahead. Okay. Discussion. Let's start with Javon. Javon? Can't hear you.
You're muted, Councilwoman.
You're muted.
Almost.
You're muted, Javon.
Sorry. Here I am. So just wanted to start by thanking residents Shanaz Arjaman, Lucree Ortiz. Appreciate their comments about the racism lecture series. And again, I believe this is a great opportunity for our community and look forward to us as council members leading by participation and engaging in this courageous conversations about racial injustice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Also, Mr. Mayor, look forward to working with you and the Community Relations Advisory Board as you've given charge, and also identify goals, objectives, and action items as have been suggested. I want to say thank you to Matt Smith, Paula Rogovan, Sam, who promoted me to Congresswoman, for their work on the clean energy and for their further clarification of this issue. Look forward to working with Keith and having further conversation about this. I think it's something that's worthwhile, especially if the residents can save some money in addition to being good citizens of the earth. The other piece, I'm sorry that Dr. Hoffman got cut off because I think he was in the midst of an explanation about that article that was in the record about the 2 kitchens. So hopefully we can get some further clarification about that. And I believe I did ask last meeting about that resolution 250 that was mentioned, and why we couldn't get further clarification from the woman who originally did the open space plan, as opposed to working with this new company. But I think we did discuss that last week. But if anybody has any further clarification for Mr. Pearson, thanks.
Councilmember Pagan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start by thanking Dr. Artie Walser, Clara Williams, and Howard Rose for their many years of dedication and service to our children and our schools on the Teaneck Board of Education. They will be stepping down in January, and we wish the 3 of them the very best going forward. Also, a number of our police officers have retired during this past year, and I want to thank them for their service and wish them the very best in their retirement. That also means that we have hired some new police officers, and I want to wish the new officers the best of luck at the academy and thank them for the public safety work they are about to undertake for us here in Teaneck. I also want to thank our DPW employees who are working so hard each and every single day to collect leaves throughout the township. Unfortunately, the process has been slowed down a little bit due to all the rain we have experienced these past few weeks, and unfortunately we can't pick the leaves up when they are wet, but the DPW is working hard to remove the leaves from our streets, and we are grateful for their efforts. And lastly, I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season and a happy new year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you. I just want to thank our representatives that came out regarding the DPW. I know how hard they work and how much effort they put into this. Regarding the leaf issue that was brought up, I think that there's some data that we're getting this year. We've employed the vacuum machine for the first time. We had several meetings with the DPW, the manager, and some council members regarding collection. I would like to see what that data shows us, and I had some recommendations for the manager. I think a model like we have with recycling, where we pair the map showing where things are getting picked up with when people should put things out, has some merit. So I'd like data from what we're doing and the DPW to see how that goes. And, like I said, I want to thank everybody that came out from the Board of Ed. I want to congratulate Danielle G. on having the highest vote tally for anyone in local Teaneck history. She smashed Maddie Feldman's record of about 8,000 something in the 1960s. And I want to wish everybody a safe and happy new year. Remember to wear a mask, wash those hands, and get that vaccine when it comes out. Take care.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Organ.
Thanks. When previous Mayor Hamiduddin made his goodbye statement, he said the one thing he regretted was that he didn't have a chance to build a new DPW. And we've been talking about it for years, and I'm glad that Kevin and Arsalan came on tonight. This council has made it a priority to try to do that. And so that's what we're going ahead with, and that's what we're going to try to do. The DPW has worked very hard this year. They didn't really get a break. Isaias came right before the leaves, and they've been working around the clock. So I hope we can build you a proper home. I'm just going to go soft for a minute and say that winter is here, and it's cold and it's dark. And with the resurgence of COVID, there's a lot that's out of our control. But the one thing that we can control is how we treat each other, and we can be kind. We can be kind and we can smile. We can help each other. We can do good deeds for each other. And at this time, there's really no room for nastiness, and not on social media either, because those words hurt. Everybody's got added stress now, and we're crankier than we've been, and we complain more, and we're needier. And the leaves are going to fall every year, and the snow is going to follow them, and the DPW will be out all night for that. But we need to take care of our health, and we need to take care of each other, and we need to be kind. And I just want to give a shout out to all the pharmacists that are working now, because it's pharmacists that are going into the nursing homes and into the inpatient facilities to start giving the COVID shots now. And I wish them well, and I wish them luck. And I hope to be back and join them very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Organ. Well said. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Linda Carlo Burns, I apologize on the Finance Committee and referencing that we were meeting as an individual, and I do apologize for that. Dr. Pruitt, thank you very much. Yes, we've been playing phone tag hourly, but the scattered sites are not referring to anything but home. They're not apartment buildings. They're not any DPWs. They're referring to exactly what the original plan did to homes. And that's just the beginning. I sent you an email right now with some more information. As it relates to the OSRP, as announced at the last meeting, the council has approved $20,000 to retain on behalf of the planning board, the Nishween group, which is led by Michelle, who's actually the Black woman that we felt really helped represent Teaneck. She actually represents her community as the mayor of her town. And the planning board wanted to move in a different direction, to not we appreciate the past services of the prior OSRP drafter, and wanted to move in a new direction and see another point of view. So I believe that's what the firm they chose, and the council approved that money at the last meeting, and that is moving forward. As it relates to the DPW, we're definitely going to try our best to get free land to build a new DPW, to remediate the existing DPW, to return the waterfront to the public. And before we go ahead and spend $15 million on a new DPW that's been in need of repair for 50 years, we are going to try our best to get one for free. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just have a couple of comments. First of all,
what about Mr. Katz?
Oh, you want to talk too, Ellie?
I was debating, but then when you skipped me, I said, that's it, I'm talking.
All right, fine. Go ahead.
All right. There's a lot of things that the founding fathers of Teaneck have done right in Teaneck. No commercial on Route 4, no at-grade crossings by the railroad tracks. But I think if you think about one of the absolute worst decisions that we made 50, 70 years ago, it's probably taking the Teaneck DPW and putting it by the Hackensack River. I think that probably was, I don't know what they were thinking. I'm sure Keith Kaplan will tell me exactly what they were thinking and when they were thinking and who thought of it. But it was very poor planning, in my opinion. And now we're at a crossroads where we have the ability to either right or wrong, or literally sink tens of millions of dollars into a location that we know is a mistake, but it'll be a mistake for another 50 years. So I'm absolutely in favor of exploring alternate sites, especially when given the ability to do it in a way where we could have somebody else picking up the tab and not the taxpayer. What I'd like to ask Dr. Powers, who has been successful with the town when he uses his knowledge and his insight in this remediation stuff, is to be involved in the process and not come to the meeting, poo-pooing it and being against it, because the reality is not against the 7 of us. He's against what could be for the best interest for the whole town. So that is my challenge to Dr. Powers. I know he's done it in the past. He saved the town money when we did it with Voti Park. And now's an opportunity to involve residents to do it again. So that is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Katz. I'm sorry I didn't see you first. Just a couple of things. First of all, Ms. Ortiz, in terms of the goals of the lecture series, it was a feeling that we needed to have some education to bring some people up to the same level of understanding, because a lot of people simply don't understand. For some people, it's a simple concept, racism or white preference or whatever. It's not simple for a lot of people. And if we're going to move the needle, I think we need an educational component to anything that we do in the town. And so I wanted to start with this. As I said, it's going to be followed up, hopefully with a workshop during at least one of these sessions, one of the lecturers have talked to us about. And then, as you heard, our advisory board rather on community relations has been charged by Councilmember Rice and I to go and find ideas and activities and events that will help continue those types of discussions and have places where people can all come together from all sides of this town and enjoy the town as we think it should be enjoyed. So there is a pathway. Those are the goals, broad goals to be sure, but that's what we're thinking of, and that's where we're headed. I'll have to agree quickly with my council member Kaplan on his comments relative to leaves. We have to look at the data that we're hopefully going to get and start to look at whether or not we've learned something or whether or not we have to look at something else. I also want to thank the Board of Ed, and I look forward to a mutual relationship that I think will benefit the children of our town as well as all the residents of our town. I think anything that we can show that we're supportive of the Board of Education and our educational system here, it looks better and the kids will do better. So I'm looking forward to that. Finances, I've heard nothing but gloom and doom about the finances. There's only one problem. Everybody from the outside that's been looking at our finances for the past year have said, oh my God, what a great job you do. So we've had many third parties, our auditor, Moody's, I'm probably forgetting somebody, who have looked at our stuff independently. They haven't lowered our bond ratings. They said we're doing the right things. They've given us some suggestions. And we're moving forward. And frankly, they're very impressed with how our finances are being handled. And finally, and I think it would be remiss if council did not mention this in open session. Of course, we are aware of the shooting events that happened in our town this week. And certainly we are very, very unhappy and concerned about it. Once the investigation and the report is done, and we have a better handle on what has happened, the manager will meet with us and we will discuss next steps to do everything that we can so that things like this don't happen again in our town. But I just wanted to let everybody know that we're not in any way not moving on this or looking at this as a very serious event. Okay.
Mayor, before we move forward on the consent agenda, I'm very apologize to interrupt. It's 11:10. We extended to 11:15. Maybe we extend to 11:25 to be safe.
11:25. Any objection? Okay. All right, Doug, read in the bill list.
So bill list in the amount of $10,007,782.81.
Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Councilwoman, you're muted.
Councilmember Rice, you're muted.
A different screen. Can we pull 271? And then there was also the one about the grants with Millennial. I don't forget which number that was, but I wanted to pull that one as well.
That's 259.
Thank you. I just had some questions about that as well.
I wanted to pull that one.
You're pulling 271.
271 and 259.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What was that second one? 259 for Millennium?
No,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So then everything else being considered except for 259 and 271 resolutions. I'm sorry. I did not hear a first or a second.
I move the consent agenda without 271 and 259, including Raffles minutes, bill list, resolutions.
Second.
All right, Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Yes, with an abstention on the bills list.
Councilman Bagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes, with recusing of the bill list.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes, with recusal of resolution 255, 2020.
You want to vote against?
Congratulations.
Yes. We're happy to have her.
Oh, I love it.
All right, so let's
Bill
go back.
list, and now we need to discuss those two resolutions.
Resolution 259 is open for discussion.
Yeah, I just
strategies.
Yes, I just had a question because we used to receive reports in terms of what had been applied, what grants had been applied for, what had been awarded, and we haven't gotten that as of late, or perhaps I just don't recall receiving. I'm just wondering how they're doing for us as we're looking at renewing that contract.
I'll send you the most recent one I received for the month of November. I got that the other day. With the COVID crisis for the last 6 to 7 months, things have not been as active, but I'll send council the November report that I received from Michael Weiss from Millennium. I'll send it right now this evening.
Okay, thank you. So, Dean, then in your opinion, you find that it's still worthwhile to have the service, that they're finding resources and grants for us, and that it's still worthwhile to pursue?
Yeah, I do. They do a lot of work for us. Again, there's not many games in town, so to speak. The alternative was Bruno. They do different pricing. Bruno does it by percentage. Millennium is a flat fee. So the committee looked at this, and the recommendation was to stick with Millennium right now. There was no one else other than those two that submitted proposals to the township.
Okay, thanks. Just wanted to get that piece of clarity in terms of their, that we're getting our bang for the buck.
Dean, yeah, I mean, I've been pretty outspoken and not happy with this service, but apparently, as Dean said, it's the only game in town. But I want us to get a very close leash on this and maximize everything that we can. Dean, can we set up a meeting with them like we had last time, so we can go over the priorities, the funding priorities that we have?
Absolutely.
And to make
yes. I'll get that up right away.
Right. Okay. And again, I think everybody should be open and bring up any questions they have about these reports, because frankly, they were, to me, totally underwhelming. So let's watch it closely. Okay. Doug, call the roll on 259.
We could. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Yes.
Councilman Bagan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
259 adopted.
271 was the next one.
Yeah, I just pulled that because I had some questions. I know we've talked for probably ad nauseum since Fran was with us, Fran Wilson, that the current facility is not meeting our needs, and those guys are working under great duress for all the great work that they do for us. But I guess my question was, I know that we talk about the assessment study that was performed by Active Design Group. And I know we commissioned that, but I just don't recall receiving or discussing that portion of what their findings were. There was also, I believe, an EPA study in terms of the soil and contamination and concerns there. And while this is saying authorizing the relocation, I just didn't know that we were at that point. I didn't know if we were at the point of at least looking at this as an option. And I know that there's a lot of contingencies in terms of working with the county. I was just curious that we're at this stage of authorizing the relocation. So perhaps I could get some questions answered. Anybody?
Okay. I think the unique nature of what this could potentially do for us, between basically getting a free DPW, having an area cleaned up, and I believe we just recently got the report looking at it in terms of the soil, and it while we have to do stuff there, it doesn't look nearly as bad as we thought it was going to. And then to be able to use that as a form of development, which would then create not only no cost for the township residents, but it will also generate revenue. So all of those things put together made this situation, I think, very unique that we needed to pursue to completion. So that's why I have been in total support of this. If we can't do it and it falls apart, we're going to have to come with another plan. But I'm not of a mind to just say, well, I don't think the county's going to give it to us, so we're not going to pursue it, or the state is not going to agree with us, so we're not going to pursue it. Well, we're not going to know they're going to say no until we ask them, and we have to come with the plan and we have to move forward with it. So I'm not ruling anything out, but I think this is the best plan on the table right now for us to pursue.
So so by authorizing the relocation, is it that these are the steps that we have to take in order to get the proposal before the county to get this free option? Or is it just that we're pursuing this as a potential option?
No, what we're doing is we're saying to the county, we're serious about this. And this council supports the looking at this proposal as being a serious proposal, as a way of trying to solve this problem. They wanted to see that we have support for moving forward and getting into generational discussions about this.
Okay. And then with that conversation, in terms of the current site, we're assured that that would be profitable in terms of the EPA study, that it is something that could generate income, that it would be saleable land, or is it contaminated?
I think right now with however the remediation, whether we pay for it or maybe we work that into developers' cost, it can be remediated. We can continue to have the spaces I think Mark mentioned earlier on the river, have them develop the property and create taxable income for the town. So I think unless the county flashes this in some way, shape, or form, this is going to be a win-win-win for this town. And again, the soil issue has been an issue. I think we got the report back. We can now work that into budgeting process as to what it is. Maybe the developer has to pay.
And just a point of clarity, I believe it mentions in here, so this would be something that we would work with our environmental commission, residents, that would be part of this development of this?
Yes, and I believe
other stakeholders, would that be residents that are interested? I think I heard someone mention or suggesting that Chuck Powers or other residents that would have a vested interest. I know that when we were doing some work with the dinosaur park over there were a lot of concerns about the ecosystem there and the animals, and all of those folks would be considered in this.
Mark, do you want to speak to that? I know you were in a discussion with them.
Yeah, for starters, this is a much smaller plan that we're talking about, nowhere near the size of a dinosaur park. This particular part that we're looking at actually has an egress roads, there's curb cuts and everything going in and out of the site. Even a stop, even our traffic lights there as well. We're looking to make this, and again, these are really preliminary stages. We're looking to make this a 21st century model of a eco-friendly DPW from compost, and I get these terms from dealing with the Environmental Commission. From composting to obviously solar on the roofs. We're looking to do this as a shared service with Leonia as well, because they're in the need of a facility. But more importantly, also taking the current brownfields, and we did get our phase 3 or our phase 2 environmental on River Road, and that's a drop shy of $1 million worth of cleanup. Really, we're cleaning up that property, returning it to the riverfront access. This is obviously a much longer, long-term plan. This is years down the road, but something we must start thinking about. Otherwise, we will be fully on the hook for well over $10-15 million in a new DPW. So we're going to try to get the river keeper on board, because we're talking about the river cleanup, the Environmental Commission, Leonia, all the stakeholders. This is really a multi-town, cross-county-wide stakeholders that we really need to get this job done and save the town millions of dollars in an environmental headache.
Before we continue, can I have a motion to continue till 11:30?
Negative. I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance, this ordinance, and then we can.
I just had a few questions.
Fine.
That's all.
Okay.
Oh, the questions are great.
Objection. We're going till 11:30. Any other discussion on 71?
Thank you for answering my questions, for just adding a little clarity. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And the river keeper folks will be happy.
Doug,
absolutely. That's it.
We'll roll on 271, please.
271, Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Yes.
Councilman Began.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
And Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
271 adopted.
Okay, introduction of ordinances. Doug.
We are introducing 3 ordinances tonight. First up, we have 33-2020, amending section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 36 entitled Traffic of the Township Code to delete a restricted on-street parking space for the handicapped along a portion of Circle Driveway. Ordinance number 34-2020, amending Chapter 21, Health and Sanitation of the Code of the Township of Teaneck to add Article 7, respecting first aid, rescue, and ambulance squads. And last but not least, ordinance number 35-2020, an ordinance of the Township of Teaneck in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, providing for a special emergency appropriation pursuant to NJSA Title 40A, Chapter 4, Section 53M, to fund a deficit in operations.
Thank you, Doug. So it's been moved. Ordinances number 33, 2020, 34, 2020, 35, 2020. Second.
Second.
And Began, roll call. Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Yes.
Councilman Began.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes.
And Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes.
Ordinance is introduced.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
In a moment. You were so close. First of all, on behalf of the council, everybody who's left on the Zoom, we want to wish you a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, a happy Kwanzaa, and a happy New Year. Please stay safe. Please wear your mask. We're going to beat this into the ground, but we have to do it to stay safe. So happy holidays, everybody. Be safe.
Yes.
Thank
Be
you.
safe. Happy
Most
holidays,
here.
everyone.
We actually have a special meeting before the end of the year. Don't want to rush the happy holidays thing, but there is a special meeting. There is a special meeting.
But it is holiday season already.
You can always say it twice.
I'm just wanted to point out. Yeah, I'll forget that.
Well,
There's another meeting.
Yes, but it'll be past Hanukkah, so happy
Okay,
holidays.
Hanukkah. Happy in Kwanzaa. Thanks.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Have a good night. Take
Good
care.
Good night, everybody.
Please be safe, everyone.
You too.
Now motion.